Good evening, good evening, good evening, honor students. Come on in, come on in, come on in. We have some things to talk about. Come on in. Please like, share, and subscribe. We are going to talk all things Naziah Harris. Come on in. I have some questions. I have some questions. I am just becoming aware of this young lady's story, Naziah Harris. She's actually a child. So I did some digging and I have some questions. And you know what I do when I have questions? I strike up the StreamYard and go live. So come on in. Come on in. We are going to discuss this evening, tonight, Naziah Harris, a beautiful young 13-year-old who has been missing for a while now. She's been missing for a while. So I want to get into the timeline surrounding the circumstances of her disappearance that goes back to January 9th, 2024. So come on in. Please engage in the chat. Let me know if you have any information pertaining to this case, if you're familiar with this case, because before coming on live, I did I guess you can say a high level investigation on this situation. But I plan to kind of go deeper during this live in real time. So if you're able to catch this live, lucky you, because you all know how she does it. I go deep diving. So we are definitely going to go deep diving to figure out what happened. Where did things go left in this young lady's life? Good evening. Come on in. Hello, Kathleen. Good evening. Hey, Ariane. How are you all? Let me know. Are you all familiar with this case? The Naziah Harris case. Looks like the murder trial began this week. And tonight I want to get into the testimony of the alleged, what do we call him? The alleged suspect's sister. I want to see what she has to say. And I haven't watched it. So, y'all, we're going to do this. We're doing this in real time. We're going to do it together. I want to first get into the story. So, those who are a part of this live or even catch the replay, you'll kind of know the background as to what led up to the trial this week. This week, the trial begins. But we're going to take you back a year ago. We're going to take you back. We're going to work our way up to present time. We're going to try to put this thing together. We're going to try to piece this thing together. It might be some piecemealing, but we're going to do what we do. And, you know, as honor students, we use common sense, discernment, all of that. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Ariane, you said you're just hearing about it. Yep, I just heard about it too. I'm thinking just because with the trial starting this week, that's why, you know, I'm seeing it come up with, a lot of my recommendations with, people talking about it because the trial is here. Another trial that's here that I had been following the last go around was the YNW Melly. I think that's his name. He's a rapper. His trial. Well, let me just say that his trial did not start up. They're going to start in September. But it was I think a hung jury a year ago. So now it's like, okay, let's put some things in place to start it back up. And the judge like, we're going to, we're going to go ahead and hurry up and get this trial going. And it's not that long from now. It's going to be September 10th. It's like, what? That is a wow. That's like at the end of the year, sir. What are you talking about? The man already been locked up for like over 2,100 days. Crazy, but it's a rapper who's on trial for murder in Florida. So that was a trial I had started following a year or more ago. So this is one that right now looks like the trial is going on. So we're going to talk about this one. I definitely want to get into some more trials this year because I'm fascinated by, it all and just learning the ins and outs, the details and the nuances that that goes on just in trials. And so I definitely plan to cover a lot more of those this year than I had in the past. So to start this year out, we will be discussing the Naziah Harris situation. And they're calling it, so we'll see, because it says sister of a suspect in Harris murder testifies. So I'm not even sure, you all, with the, and maybe we'll come to figure it out, if her body or anything was found, because I'm going to go through, we're about to jump over to this article I found, and it's going to give us a breakdown, the timeline of just the situation pertaining to this young lady. And I think it'll help us with understanding like what's going on, because I don't think, from reading this, I don't think they found a body yet, but there's clothing articles of hers that was found. So this is an article, and that I found, timeline of what we learned in the Naziah Harris disappearance nearly 1 year ago. So this is something that I came across where I'm like, I just want to know, what is this story about? So I thought this was a great article that kind of is going to tell us just that, just a real synopsis of like what had happened, what's going on. So the article reads, it's been nearly a year since 13-year-old Naziah Harris went missing in Detroit's east side. Dozens of searches have been conducted since then, but she has never been found. Her case almost went cold until later in the year when Jarvis Butts was arrested in connection to Naziah's disappearance. Police began investigating her case as a homicide. Piece by piece, police have been trying to understand what happened to Naziah and how Butts is connected in her murder. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of it all. This is the background. Let me know, y'all follow me. This is the background, y'all. So it says, prosecutor says Butts was supposed to turn himself in to authorities on a gun charge on January 9th, 2024. So almost exactly a year to the date. This week, a year to the date. The day Naziah went missing. So they're like, the day she went missing, he was supposed to go turn himself in on a gun charge. But that day was pushed back to February. Harris allegedly met up with Butts that day, and the two repeatedly went to Salopati, I don't know what that word is, before returning back to Detroit, where Butts checked into a motel. So he was supposed to turn himself in on a gun charge on January 2nd, 2024. But they were like, no, sir, you don't need to turn yourself in today. We're going to push it out a month. We're going to push it into February. He's like, bet. Well, on that day, he connected with the young 13-year-old girl, Naziah Harris. Text records alleges that Butts knew Harris was pregnant and that he began searching online about abortions and abortion pills and drinking red antifreeze. So this fool got to researching when he learned that this young girl was pregnant, allegedly by him. He's got to search and trying to figure out how he can go ahead and kind of change that, how he can go about doing it. Authorities believe Butts had been sexually abusing Harris since 2022 before killing her in January. So that was 2 years prior to her alleged death. They believe that's when he started having inappropriate interactions with her. So that would have put her at 11. Because remember, the article is saying 13 when she went missing. So that means at age 11, when he, started messing with this young girl, doing inappropriate things with this young girl. Now, I will add, I didn't see it in this article. This man, Jarvis Butts, is 42 years old. He's 42 years old. So remember, he started messing with her at 11, abusing her at 11. She went missing at 13. Okay, let's see. Authorities believe Butts had been sexually abusing Harris since 2022 before killing her in January. Prosecutors said he had a history of targeting and befriending women to get close to and sexually abuse their daughter. Now, let me add something. There was a woman, a content creator, that talked about one time it was a guy And it's crazy because I had just heard that things like this happen with, with predators where they'll prey on women who have daughters. So this content creator was like, there was a guy who came into her DMs and he started asking her about, how many her kids and stuff. And, from her socials, you could tell she had 2 kids, but this person, he didn't know like what the sex was for the kids. And he was like, yeah, don't you have a daughter or don't you have girls? She was like, no, I got 2 boys. And he was like, oh, I thought you had daughters or whatever. And then she said it just went cold. He just stopped talking. He just stopped talking when he learned that no, she had sons. And I think I think her sons, they're like little, like under 10. I think the oldest is maybe like 7. And then the youngest is 2, 3 years old, like babies. But she was like, this fool like dropped off. Like when she confirmed, no, I got boys. He left. So I had just heard before she told that story that sometimes men will prey on women who have daughters. So therefore they'll be able to have access to them. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I just never just heard it like put like that, where a man will strategically try to date a woman just to gain access to her girls, to her daughters. And I do know, and I learned this years ago, you all, from Dr. Phil, that most childhood sexual abuse cases take place at the hands of a step parent. So statistics shows that children who are part of a broken home, where there's a step parent in the home, their chances of experience some type of abuse increases. So I've known that for years, and that just always stuck with me. So when I talk about sexual assault, child abuse, families staying together, I bring that up because there are so many reasons for families to really work to try to create a healthy environment for their children. Because if they don't, and when it goes left, like the chances for things to happen to the babies, to the kids, they just increase. That's the stats. That's the stats a lot of people don't like to talk about, but it is what it is. So this man, let's back to this timeline. Let me get back to my timeline so I can stay on track. So this man, he was known, it was believed that he would get with women so he can gain access to their daughters so he can abuse them. Okay. It's not only sexual abuse. It's not the only sexual abuse case Butts is involved in. He also has been charged for reportedly sexually abusing 2 other girls, as well as a conviction of sexual assault in 2005. Prosecutors called Butts a serial rapist who sexually assaulted an 8-year-old family member and a girlfriend's 14-year-old daughter, who reportedly caught chlamydia from the assault. So why was this fool even out? This happened in 2005. He met Naziah in, allegedly, they believe he met her in 2022. So it was a big space. Let me see. That was 10 to 15. So over 15 years ago, 15, 16, 17 years later, 17 years later, he came across Naziah. So I'm wondering, like, why they just didn't decide to just go on and keep him. If you can call him a serial child rapist, like, what we letting him out for? Like, because we all know they don't do no rehabilitation in nobody jail or prison system. That's just not what's happening when you get locked up. They just sitting you down and just removing you from society. But when you get out, you still that same predator that now just has to register as a sex offender. Like nothing happened but time. Time just passed. That's all. Time passes for everybody. Nothing happened. So let's click on this hyperlink and see what it says about these other charges. Let's see. The first victim, Butts allegedly sexual. Let me see. Y'all make sure y'all can still. Okay, hold on, because I clicked on that hyperlink. I want y'all to see this because it's running down the victims that he the first victim, the history of the victims, and I think it's important. So I want to share that. Is this it? Let me see. All right, here we go. First victim. Butts allegedly sexually assaulted a now 20-year-old Highland Park woman between April 12th and April 2014. Okay, let's stop there. Didn't we see in that previous article that this fool in 2005 had allegedly assaulted two people? How we getting to 2012 and 2014? That ain't that far along. That's less than 10 years. That's what, 7 years later. How we get into 2012? I need to understand how we get to 2012 from 2005 with him assaulting someone when in 2005, like, I'm not understanding this timeline as far as what it was looking like with him being sat down for his indiscretions. I don't know, y'all. Y'all let me know if I'm missing something, but I'm going to continue to read. Let's see. So Butts allegedly assaulted a now 20-year-old Highland Park woman between April 2012 and April 2014 at the residence of LaSalle Boulevard, Detroit. The victim would have been 8 to 10 years old at the time of the assault. Butts was charged with the following in connection to this assault. 1 count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct, person under 13, defendant 17 or older, and then 3 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct, person under 13, defendant 17 or older. The second victim, a now 13-year-old girl, was allegedly sexually assaulted by Butts at a residence on Stout Street in Detroit between July 2015 and July 2017. The victim would have been 4 to 6 years old at the time of the assault. Butts was charged with second-degree criminal sexual conduct, persons under 13, defendant 17 or older. Third victim, Naziah Harris. 13-year-old Naziah, she went missing January 9th. Okay. Wayne County prosecutor Ken Worthy said Harris, after getting off the school bus at Cornwall Street and 3 Mile Drive, met with Butts the day she went missing and went to, I don't know what this Zipolante, before returning back to Detroit, where Butts checked into a motel. Worthy said investigators have enough evidence that show Harris had died, but a body has not been found. It's alleged Harris was pregnant with Butts' child and was looking to get an abortion at the time of her disappearance. Butts and Harris had reportedly known each other because he was the father of her cousins. The abuse of Harris reportedly began in 2022 with sexual explicit texts. Text records allege that Butts knew she was pregnant and that he began searching online about abortions, abortion pills, and drinking antifreeze. He was tracked to the Rouge River in Detroit the day after her disappearance, where police would later recover the clothes Harris was last seen wearing. Authorities said there was damage to the clothing that could indicate a struggle. Butts is facing charges of first-degree murder, child sexual abuse activity, and second-degree criminal sexual conduct in connection to Harris's assault and death. Ongoing investigation. Butts is scheduled to be arraigned Friday, September 27 after 10 a.m. in the 36th district. Authorities believe there could be more victims. Let's listen to this news. Looks like it's probably like a news clip from this situation. See what they're saying.
Thank you all for coming today. I want to start out this morning by introducing those that stand with me. To my far right, left, and your right, and who you are.
Matthew Makepeace with the SVU unit at Wayne County Prosecutor's.
Tina Ripley with the SB unit at Wayne County Prosecutor's Office.
Matt and Tina will be trying the case.
And good morning, Louisa Papelis. I'm also with the Special Victims Unit, the Deputy Chief. And good morning, Kelly Gleason. I'm the chief of the Special Victims Unit.
Good morning, Chief White.
Good morning, Lieutenant Amber Roberson, homicide missing person.
Sergeant Shannon Jones, homicide missing person.
I have spent decades of my career looking at pictures of murdered people. When I was trying homicide cases for 6 straight years as an assistant prosecutor, I would spend hours thinking about the victim whose case I was getting ready to try, wondering how they spent their last weeks, their last days, their last hours, and their last minutes of their lives. What were they thinking about? Did they know that the end was near? And if it was someone they knew, what must they have been thinking as they were shot, stabbed, or whatever mechanism of death was used and confronted them with by the person they knew or loved? I can't imagine the thought that goes through their minds. But it's always, always 1,000 times worse when the person is a child or a baby, someone in the dawn of their lives who have begun to live their lives. The picture behind me is of Zanaya, and that will always be haunting because it was taken just a short time before the evidence shows that she was never seen or heard from again. It was taken by Nazaya herself, a selfie. That's the last known picture that we know about of her. And it was pointed out to me by one of the detectives on this case and by one of the prosecutors. She is smiling and waving and saying hello. But little did she know that she was really saying goodbye. We will provide to you later a very skeleton timeline of the time right before her death, before and after. Of course, the detail would be provided in court. The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. The last time she was seen alive was January the 9th of this year, 2024, almost 9 months ago. Her missing status was reported to the Detroit Public School Police Department by her grandmother on that very day when she never returned home from school. And again, that was January the 9th, 2024. In early February of 2024, the case was turned over to the Detroit Police Department. Frankly, that should have happened right away, but they began investigating immediately. The evidence will further show that through text messages that we know and that we have, Zanaya and this defendant were going to meet after school on January the 9th. We know that she did indeed meet up with the defendant that we're charging in this case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in several different locations, people that he knew well. We have evidence that at 9:30 p.m. on that day, that Mr. Butts checked into a motel and the Zanaya was never seen or heard from again. Not from her family, not from her schoolmates, not from her friends, not from social media where she was extremely active with her friends, not from teachers, no one. We know that she had no medical conditions that would cause a life-threatening medical emergency to her. And he, again, was the last person that saw her alive. She would have turned 14 years old just 10 days ago on September the 16th of 2024. And again, no one has seen or heard from her. You look at that face and you do not see the horrors that she had gone through in her short life. The exploitation, the molestations, the sexual abuse, and the pregnancy that she was concealing. The evidence will show that from whatever text messages to and with Jarvis Butts. And we also know, the evidence will show, that there's no evidence of anyone else being the father of that child other than the defendant himself, who we charge today. And he knew she was pregnant. We know that he was also searching for ways to abort the baby. We know that sexually explicit photos were requested by him of her and that she complied and sent them to her. All at the hands, we allege, the man we are charging with her death and also her long-term sexual abuse. In our warrant review process that Matt and Tina and others put together, excellent work on that. Video of 111 gigabytes, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera, and let me not forget, it was Tina and Matt's memo, but the work of the Detroit Police Department. Anyway, we reviewed 111 gigabytes of video, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera footage, surveillance video, police reports, documents, 19 gigabytes, medical records, search warrant returns, phone extractions, which came to 506 gigabytes. Today, we are charging Jarvis Butts with 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, and 1 count of child sexually abusive material. Today, we are also charging Mr. Butts with more counts of criminal sexual conduct on 2 more girls, yes, girls, on 2 other separate cases. The girls in question now are 20 and 11 respectively today, but both were under the age of 13 years old at the time the offenses occurred that we're charging. We are charging that one victim who is now 20 years old, that from April of 2012 to April of 2014, it's alleged that defendant Buck sexually assaulted the victim at a residence in Detroit. Further facts and evidence on that matter will be placed on the record at the preliminary examination. In that case, we charge Mr. Butts with criminal sexual conduct, 1 count in the first degree, person under 13, defendant 17 or older. In that case, we are also charging Mr. Butts with 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, person under 13, defendant 17 years or older. In the second criminal sexual conduct case, well, I guess the third that we're charging today, we are alleging that the victim, who is now 13 years old, that from July 2015 through July 2017, we're alleging that he sexually assaulted the victim at a residence in Detroit. And again, further facts and evidence will be developed at the preliminary examination. Defendant Butts have been charged with, in that case, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree. Child under the age of 13, Mr. Butts over the age of 17. Based on all the evidence that I've laid out now and much more that will be shown later in court, based on all these cases we will present in court, Mr. Butts targeted and befriended women who had to have sexual relationships with their young daughters. He would have relationships with their mothers, but his true desire was to have sex with their young daughters. That's what the evidence will show. He was a classic and expert groomer and pedophile. It's incredibly sad, incredibly unspeakable, and we want to bring justice to her and her family. I have to take this moment to say something to you, and this is not directed at all at Naziah's family, who by all accounts had many in her family that truly loved her. This is directed to everyone else listening to me now. We must be very careful who we let into our hearts and our homes and our lives, especially if you have children. We must be very careful who we have around our children and elders respectively. We must also be very careful who we leave our children with, even if they are in a relationship partners, family, and friends. I'll say that again, even if they are relationship partners, families, or friends. Life can be hard enough at times, but when it comes to our children, we must be deliberative, we must be diligent, and laser focused on their safety. And sometimes we must make decisions about them and their lives that we may not like and that they may not like, but it's for the betterment of them and their safety and their future. When something doesn't feel right, even if it's just that voice in your head, it usually isn't right. And sometimes when we are attentive and we do everything right by our children, things can still happen and still go very wrong despite our best efforts. This can happen to good watchers of children. But we must always ask ourselves at the end of each and every day, was I right by each member of my household in terms of their safety? Did I do right by my children? Now, of course, Mr. Butts is presumed innocent unless and until he's found guilty on each and every crime and count that we have charged today. We have been told this morning that the arraignment will be tomorrow, we think at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, but we don't have confirmation of that yet. But the arraignment, we are told, will happen tomorrow morning. Thank you very much. Chief. I'll sit.
Good morning. This is one of the most difficult cases that I have been a part of. And I'm just so very thankful to the detectives and the investigators in homicide. The tragedies that happened to this little girl touches each and every one of us. And unfortunately, she lost her life at the hands of someone who should have been concerned about her safety. I just want to take a couple moments and thank Madam Prosecutor and her team for the amazing work, the commitment, the hours that they put into this work. I want to thank our major crimes, missing persons, homicide, specifically Sergeant Jones and Lieutenant Amber Roberson. When I tell you the days and hours and the tenacity that they put into this work, it's not often that I'm not surprised by our officers, but when I saw the work and the hours and the time that they put in there, I was absolutely in awe at my weekly briefings and the time that they put into this case. It is not an 8 hour a day job. It is it ends when they have to get a couple hours of sleep. And I will tell you, with all the other things going on, this case was always top of mind. Certainly want to thank DPS for their assistance in transferring over some of the information that we were able to get from them with this case. Uh, there were a number of people, our community in particular, even our Border Police Commissioner, Tamara Liberty Smith, who was out knocking on doors and passing out flyers, all with the desire to bring this little girl home to her family. Uh, Quickly, as the investigation unfolded, the officers realized that was going to be very difficult. Without going into great detail, I will tell you, as the prosecutors indicated, hours and hours and many gigabytes of information and phone records and knocking on doors and pulling video went into this investigation. And sadly, we find ourselves where we are now. But if there's any solace in any of this, is that we take a lesson from this. We make strong and good decisions for our children, keep them out of harm's way. We are not pointing out anything that someone did wrong. We just want to make sure people do a lot more things right. And again, Madam Prosecutor, thank you and your team for the work.
All right, the chief and I will take a few questions if you have any.
I have one. How did Jarvis Bucks have access to Messiah?
He knew some of their family members, some of her family members.
Can you talk about the time frame when you mentioned grooming? Are you able to elaborate at all over how long of a period of time he may have quote unquote groomed or knew her? Or
All I can and will say at this point that it started in 2022.
So just for accuracy, this little girl's remains have never been found?
No.
Is there a thought?
Her body has never been found.
Any thought of where she may be?
Well, if we knew that, we would certainly have a case that we weren't trying. We were trying without a body.
We asked this, can you say what triggered charges now?
Again, there's an incredible amount of material. And one of the reasons why lately I've been giving out amounts of material that we've been going through, because I think people sometimes just do not get it or understand about all the work that it takes by the investigators and by the prosecutors to put a case like this together. Whenever you have a case like this, where there has been no body found, it makes it more difficult and much more investigation must be done because we have to be able to prove that the person is deceased.
Are you able to say how long this suspect was on your radar when you really started locking in on him?
No, by law, I can't really comment on that because that would leave me in a place where I can't talk about right now.
Could things have maybe moved forward a little faster if the school police had got with Detroit police right away?
Yes.
Can you talk a little more about?
No, I better not. I have strong opinions there.
You added to that the evidence, however, suggests that Messiah Harris is dead, correct?
We are going to be able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she's dead, as we must do by law.
You can't say what, why?
Because no one's seen her, no friends, no family, no teachers, no medical conditions. Even on her birthday, 10 days ago, she contacted no one. This was a child that never missed school, but the school hasn't seen or heard from at all again. This is a young girl who was very active on social media and crickets, nothing, since January the 9th of 2024.
Anything from the defendant?
And we have other things too that will come out in court.
Any cooperation at all or utterances, statements from your defendant?
I can't get into that.
Without being able to speak in detail, I'm sure, do you have any evidence to indicate manner and location of death or where this might have occurred?
No, because we can't do that unless we have a body.
Mr. Bucks is currently facing charges in prosecutor right office. Can you talk additional charges before these? Can you talk about those at all?
He is, and we next appear in court on Monday, January 30th.
Have there been any other arrests made in this case?
I don't think so.
We just saw an unfounded rumor that there were family members arrested. Didn't know if you could squash that or confirm that.
It's an unfounded rumor. It's not true.
Thank you.
Do you have an idea of how long Messiah may have been being molested?
Again, the sexual abuse began based on the evidence that we have in 2022. Or at least the grooming began in 2022.
Are you able to say how far along she was on her pregnancy?
We don't know because we don't have a body.
I have a question for Chief White just about missing children just broadly. When these types of cases happen, obviously we get the reports all the time. Can you talk about what you think didn't work in this case? You know, in terms of like maybe the seriousness that was considered when she first went missing, and according to PTSD, CD versus what it got to you guys.
I would much rather have had the case earlier. I don't know if the outcome would have been any different based on some of the things we've learned in the course of the investigation. But we may have had an opportunity to recover even more evidence. But we're pretty confident that the evidence that we have is strong. We know it is, in fact. But you can never have enough evidence. So if there's anything that could have gone a little bit better with regards to the first time that we were brought in, I would have wanted to be brought in much earlier. For that reason.
Just some background on Jarvis Bus. What's his age and is he from Detroit?
He's 41 years old from Highland Park, I believe.
Yeah.
And Chief, as soon as you guys got word of this, you guys were out immediately, right? I think you were even out searching. You guys set up a command post.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we took over the case after we were briefed. We took charge of the case, and our teams got engaged in it immediately and hit the ground running, and didn't look back.
Can you talk about, Chief White or maybe Sergeant Jones, the Maziah's case in connection to the other missing young people, girls, children, like what your workload looks like, how you balance those cases, and are able to, the numbers of youth that are missing right now?
Yeah, well, we make that public. We put it on our social media pages. There's a number of misinformation, misconceptions about missings. Oftentimes what we have is kids that run away for a day or two. They have a way of investigating these cases. They know the ones that routine runaways, if you will. They still look, they still go out, but there's ways to do it. Going to the schools, social media with kids. It's a big benefit to us for our investigations. And they also know when they become serious missings. All missings are serious, but internally there's a title that it has been elevated to a serious missing, and that involves a lot more work and connection with the family. Each time we get a call, we go out to the home, regardless of whether or not it's a person who has run away or a routine runaway or serious missing. We check the home. We have found kids in the home hiding. So it's really complex, and we'll take its own news conference to explain it. I will tell you this, they do a very good job. We've got thousands of kids this year that have been returned home. Many of which were runaways, so we don't have a condition where kids are being picked up on the street and kidnapped. We did have an incident a couple of years ago where that happened, and the prosecutor charged that person. In fact, they were just recently convicted. So it's a lot that goes into it. We'd be more than happy to sit down and explain our process with you if you want to do something on an aside.
Chief, assuming then, inferring that investigators knew early on this was not a runaway case, or just if you could share some details of the fact that I'm assuming you knew pretty quickly this was not what she did as far as running and there was foul play involved. And if you could address the complexities that the prosecutor alluded to of not having a body and how you build a case around that.
Well, the prosecutor builds cases. We bring evidence to the prosecutor. We bring our investigation, and she makes the charging decision. So I don't want to get into that lane because it's not mine. I'll tell you, as I said earlier, the prosecutor has alluded to a lot, and there's a lot in the press release as to what goes into it. These folks looking at hours and hours of video evidence, and as the prosecutor indicated earlier, I don't think people recognize in this new age of modern technology what that has done to investigative process. The days of old school investigations, some of that stuff still is valid and important. You got to get out on the street, knock on doors, and talk to people. But what the digital world has brought us is new opportunities to find additional information and the cadence in which people communicate, right? Every one of us have these things in our pocket called cell phones that we use for everything. And if people go dark, and they've never been dark, and particularly kids, they show their food, they show their school, they take selfies, and when that stops, that elevates your concern as to why did it stop. So it's a very complex process. These are the experts. I'm just a chief. But, again, we can sit down and talk to you about it in great detail, but a lot goes into it. And when you're talking about 111 gigabytes of information and text messages and dumping phones and literally going through methodically each one of the pages and the text messages and the communication as to when they stopped and the last word said that should have prompted a response. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I can't get into that. All those things elevate your curiosity and brings you into other areas. So it takes a lot more time, but when you get it all right and you pull all the things together, you become as confident as we are now with this case. And we're very, very, very happy that this predator, this child predator, will not be able to hurt any more children and frankly any more women, because we know that the women were a pathway to the children. That's that period. And I'm gonna stop there before I get in trouble with the prosecutor.
506 gigabytes just from the cell phones.
Are there any other people that are close to her family that may be charged?
This investigation's over, and we have charged the one and single person that's responsible for not only her death, the evidence show, but also for the sexual assaults that we have charged today.
And what are his priors? Do we have those?
Oh, I definitely can't go there. I'll lose my law license.
Chief, some of Nazia's relatives said they previously had talked to CPS about allegations of sexual abuse from Nazia and other kids. Did that ever make it to your office? Is that something that police have investigated before?
Yeah, let me just say this, that if anyone that is watching this press conference right now or reads any of the coverage that I'm sure that you will give this, has any reason to believe that they were a victim of his or that they know something else, we certainly welcome them to contact the Detroit Police Department.
So you can't say if there were any previous reports on that?
No.
Has Mr. Butts made any admissions at all?
We can't talk about that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So it seems like the state feels like they have a pretty strong, compelling case against Mr. Butts. They said, listen, we don't have a body, but we do have a lot of evidence. Looks like most of the evidence that they have is probably going to be centered around probably the text message communications. They do have clothing articles of the young girl, Nazia Harris. They do have clothing articles of hers that have blood on it. What else? I'm sure they probably have like video surveillance. Like they sound like, listen, they just like, listen, we just waiting for January to come, which is where we are today. This video was just a flashback in time, going back to, I guess, maybe September, when they were able to officially charge him because they felt like they had a strong enough case. They had the evidence to support it. And as she said, which I am aware of, it's extremely hard to try someone for murder without a body. It can be done. It's been done, but it's very hard. But they like, listen, we got all the evidence. We got a lot of evidence, and we feel strongly that we can show that this man is in fact behind her murder. Also, we are in the time of with technology, social media. It's great for the police officers these days. I really believe that social media helps them to do their jobs easier. Like I said, social media, it's one of those things. It's the good and the bad. It's kind of how you use it. And I think the good of it is that because so many people put their life on social media, it creates a trail, like a paper trail of just, or the footprint of their actions, everything that they do. So the minute that someone veers away from what their routine is on social media, then it raises a red flag. And this young girl, like many youth today, she was heavy into social media. They said, she always was on social media. So it's not hard to say something took place January 9th because they saw a hard stop on her social media. Also, let's just take it back to just text communications between the perpetrator and Nazia, just even their text communications. I would imagine that those probably took a hard stop as well because he knew that she wasn't going to be able to respond. I don't know if he was smart enough, with trying to still send messaging to just in case if someone did get his phone to throw him off and say, oh, but let me text her, to act like, I'm truly looking for a response when I'm not. I don't know. But I'm sure all of that is going to come out in the trial, which did start today. And in a short while, we are going to jump over to the testimony of this perpetrator. Let me see what this man name is, y'all, because I done forgot his name, Mr. Butts. I know his last name is Butts. What's his name? Jarvis Butts. His sister is going to testify. But child, it's deep. It's very deep. So we're gonna hear what the sister got to say. My thing is, if these family members are coming on here, because I don't know what her testimony gonna be, but y'all know a lot of times family members will be the biggest enablers to a person. And we have seen with reading over these articles on the internet and listening to this 22-minute news clip, this man had a history of essaying children. They didn't actually name off anything where he assaulted anybody that was an adult. It was always children. So my thing is, if it showed the first time he had a SA case was going back to 2005, and then the next two cases were the two girls that are now 20 and 13 when they were minors, both under 13. That started in as early as 2012. So as I said before, my question is, what type of time did he get from when he did wrong in 2005 for him to be out already to do wrong again in 2012? That goes to show there's just a problem. I don't even know a stronger word to say in the legal system to where he was able to be out on the streets, but at the same time, today they want to call him a super predator. The signs have been there for a long time that this man was an abuser, a monster, just a menace to society, but actions were not taken. So now let's segue over to the family of the young girl. Remember the young girl, they said that he met her from their research in 2022. That's when I guess they was able to see from the text message communications with the grooming and things like that. She knew him from a family member. I think the article said that he was the father of some cousins to her. If this young girl was pregnant and she was 13, and then there was 2 years of her having inappropriate relations with this adult male who's now 41, which means he would have then been about 39. How did this go unnoticed by her caretakers? I have not heard yet any talks of a mama and a daddy, but they say grandma is the one who reported her missing when I guess she didn't show up for school. It seems like low key the police had an issue with how the school police or whatever responded to the situation, because it seems like they didn't feel like they responded quickly enough, which probably could have helped with tracking, where she went. But they did not get into that. But I'm sure in the trial, all of that, everything is going to come out in the trial. So I understand when they can't say much, but I felt like they said a lot. They said a lot. They said enough for us to see that there was a ball dropped in multiple areas as it pertained to this young 13-year-old girl. So back to the home environment, even the school. How does it go unnoticed that this young girl is pregnant? Now, we don't know yet how far along she was. The police said, hey, we have no way of knowing that since we do not have a body. But I would imagine during the trial, when they start going through the text communications, you can follow the trail of when conversations start centered around a pregnancy. So then from there, you can kind of do like, okay, this is when, the first mention of pregnancy. Okay, now fast forward. This is when we see in his computer when he's researching how to terminate a pregnancy. So I figure with a timeline like that, there is some type of estimate that can be said as far as the likelihood of how far along this young girl could have been. So want to leave that there. Let me see who's coming to the building since I've started this live. Thank you. I hope you are having a wonderful night. you all are safe and warm. I took a break from covering the fires over that's taking place in Los Angeles, California. You know, California, if you all are familiar with me or new to my channel, California is my home state. That's where I was born. I am from Northern California, the Bay Area. The fires are taking place in Southern California, right near, you know, Los Angeles area, but it's such a big city. So, but I'm seeing that it's traveling very quickly. It's traveling very quickly. So, prayers to those who are impacted by the fires in Los Angeles. Um, Hey, Suze, what's up? Welcome, welcome. Ariane says sick mental illness, grown as. Yes, all of that, Ariane, all of that. Hey, Yvonne, welcome tonight. Welcome, welcome. Sue says, did I hear them say she was pregnant? Yes, she was pregnant. They just do not know how far along, but she was pregnant. They did release that in his internet. He like his search. He would search on how to, how to have a deletion, how to perform, and all of that. He was doing a research on the internet on how to get rid of a pregnancy, all of that. So, yes, we're going to jump over to the testimony of Jared, Jared Butt's sister. She's testifying. We're gonna see. She better not be on no bull. I hope she don't piss me off, y'all. But we're gonna see what she has to say. Because, like I say, this man is giving that he was surrounded by a lot of enablers, and that's it. And it's so sad. It's so sad. Welcome, Doc. Doc says, I saw this trial. She was adopted by her grandmother. The guy who essayed her was her aunt's boyfriend. Doc says he had 5 children by her. Thank you for that information, Doc. So, as you know, they said that, he was the father to some cousins and things like that. And that's why I said before how, from what I've learned, that most cases of child abuse takes place at the hand of a step parent, at the hand also of someone that the child knows. Like, y'all, this ain't no, most abuse cases on children don't take place by complete strangers. That's just not the way it happens. It takes place by someone who they have a relationship with, who they've built some type of trust with. That's just the way it is. So as that woman, I'm not quite sure what her title was. I can't remember. The woman who was doing most of the speaking and the news conference we watched, she said, y'all don't even get lax with just your partners, your family members. You got to be vigilant about everybody that you bring around your children, like, with just not being in denial about who these people are. Like acknowledging when somebody is actually sick and got issues and got a shaky background. You can't overlook that because you think they cute or you done got lonely or you done got an itch. You cannot do that. And you know when you really can't do that? When you got children. See, you can play stupid games and win super prizes and risk your life all day long. But what you can't be doing is doing all of that when you got children under your care in your home. You can't play them games because grown folks can take care of grown folks, but children rely on grown folks to look after them. So Naziah is an example of one of many children who have been failed by the adults in her life. There's been many adults. So it's multiple people who, to me, are responsible when it comes to just her ultimate fate. I'm just going to let that sit there. So we're going to move on over to this interview, this live, this, what do you want to call this, testimony of sister. We're going to see what she got to say, Hopefully she don't piss us off, but we're going to see what she got to say in regards to her brother. You all want to know, if you see my thumbnail, you've seen, what Jared Butts looks like. This is his sister now on the screen. So let's get into this testimony to see what she has to say in regards to her brother and his alleged involvement with this young girl who is no longer with us. Fair use. Thank you all for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe. Heavy on the like the video. It helps me out. It helps circulate the content, keep me in the algorithm. I greatly appreciate that. So let's get to this testimony. The sister of the suspect in the Naziah Harris murder trial. Fair use.
And do you, good afternoon, could you please state your name for the record?
Tijuana Butts,
And how old are you, Ms. Butts?
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes,
And how is it that you know him?
he's my brother.
Okay, and how old is Jarvis Butts?
42.
And do you know his birthday?
Yes,
When's his birthday?
November 21st, 1982.
And do you see Jarvis Butts in the courtroom today?
I saw him walking in.
Okay, and can you point to him and tell me the color of the clothing that he's wearing?
He has on, I believe it's dark green shirt. He's sitting behind the lady to the side of you.
And you remember what the record reflected when it says identified the defendant in this case?
So reflected, and just to be clear, you said I saw him walking in. You saw him when you were walking in or when he was walking in?
When I was walking in just now.
Thank you.
And Ms. Butts, where did you know Jarvis to work?
He worked at a shop on Warren and Neff, called Frank's, and then he moved to a shop on Hopper and Connors. I don't know the name of it.
And Ms. Butts, do you remember talking to Detroit police back on February 26, 2024?
Yes,
And what's the reason that you went and talked to Detroit police?
I had reason to believe that I saw Naziah the day she went missing.
Okay. Tell me about that. What makes you believe that you saw Naziah on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this a lot?
So, from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Naziah?
At the shop on Harbor and Connors.
Okay, and whose shop is that?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
Okay. What's the reason you were at your brother's shop that day?
Something was wrong with the car that I was driving, and I just needed him to check it out to make sure it was safe for me to drive.
Okay. Do you recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay, and around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So it's a two car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
I believe a Cadillac Escalade.
Okay, do you remember what color?
Kind of like a pearl white, off white cream color.
Okay, and you said you described this as a two garage shop?
Yes.
Okay, and I want to approach with people's exhibit 7.
Okay.
Now, Ms. Butts, do you recognize what is it we're looking at in people's exhibit 7?
Yes.
Okay, what is that?
That is the shop.
Okay.
Right in the middle.
And where at were you parked when you saw someone getting in and out of Jarvis's truck?
In front of the car doors of the garage right here. I was going towards Gratiot. I was like in front, but outside.
Okay, so you were kind of parked parallel with the road?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you draw a T where your truck was?
My car?
Yeah, your car was.
Can I?
Yes. And then put an arrow the way you were facing. And where is it where that Jarvis's truck was? Just put a J where Jarvis's truck was. And what way was his truck facing?
It was facing my direction, so the front was
Towards you. Okay, so put an arrow for that direction. Okay. Thank you. Now, do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her, as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any clothing?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You understand my approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Handing you what's marked as People's Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay. Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And that's in People's Exhibit 10? Your Honor, I move for the admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 10 as Exhibit 10. Is that a fair and accurate depiction of the jacket that you saw that day?
Yes.
I move for the proposed People's Exhibit 10.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay, it'll be admitted as People's Exhibit 10.
Okay. And in People's 2, is that also, where is the what you recognize People's Exhibit 2?
It looks like channel 2 here, maybe.
Okay, facing the back?
Yeah.
Okay. And you recognize the jacket in this photo too, right? Yes.
It's a little blurry, but it looks the same.
Okay.
I mean,
And what about in channel 1 of Exhibit 2?
it would be this one right here.
Okay, and it's fair to say that's the back of a jacket? It seems to be the back of a jacket? Okay, thank you. And you said that you saw this little girl with this jacket on getting in and out, going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station, she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So about how far in front of you was she?
I would say maybe where the gentleman in the gray blazer is behind you. Maybe a little bit farther, I'm not really sure about that distance.
From where you are to him?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Boy, I'm really bad at estimates.
20, 25 feet?
Yeah, I would agree with about 20 to 25 feet. And you said you never got a chance to see this little girl's face.
No.
Was there anything else about her that you can remember?
I just remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car. When I was walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
Okay. Tiny, like in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word or he said it's my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay, but
But
you knew who he was referring to?
yes,
Okay. Did you think anything of it at the time?
no,
Okay. And what is it that made you think something? Was there a time where you thought something different?
yes.
Okay, and what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, well, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do as a result of receiving those things?
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And who's the Shannon that you called?
His kid's mom.
Shannon Harris?
Yes.
Okay. Do you do anything before you go and talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you do?
Okay, so after having a conversation with Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed that his partner King, I guess something happened where
Objection, this is hearsay.
There's not a statement yet, Judge.
Being informed.
I'm not sure what she's even about to say.
Okay, just to the extent that it's informed of someone else's statement.
You might have to object in a couple moments.
You need to speak up,
If you could stand up
please.
and make your objection.
Yes, just objecting to the fact that she was informed of something. It appears this might be hearsay, but we'll see. Yeah.
Could you finish what you were saying? I don't know where you're going with this.
I'm trying to remember where I left. Okay, so after talking to Shannon Harris and his other kid's mom, I was informed of some things that had taken place Valentine's Day. So they told me that his
So
partner
objection.
King,
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so
That
at
is-
this point, this is hearsay. They told me, and the lack of personal knowledge, the things that she was informed of.
can I finish?
1 second.
One.
What is an objection?
I'm
Everybody-
sorry.
The witness
Sorry.
has to stop talking.
So based on those, do you go and talk to someone else?
Yes,
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
his partner King
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck that day.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
And who is King again?
His business partner.
Okay. And do you know his government name?
I believe it's Cordero or something like that. I just always call him King.
So you went and told him that you hadn't seen anyone out at the shop besides your nieces and then the one little girl you saw that one day?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ask him about that little girl?
Well, I didn't ask him about it. After I said that to him, he told me.
Objection, Your Honor, this is gonna be hearsay again.
Judge, it's gonna go to the effect on the listener.
There could be an exception. I don't know what she's saying. So you might as well just stay standing up. Go ahead, say what you were gonna say.
After I mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naziah that I saw that day and I was there.
So I would object then, given now that she has testified to that it is hearsay and that it is being introduced for the truth.
And Judge, I would say that it's actually a statement of identification.
So this is not an identification that she personally made, she's just being told.
I mean, she saw Naziah that day, so it's.
She didn't know who it was. I mean, she had no idea who this was. That's
She
not
didn't know
her
who she was.
identification.
So it is hearsay.
Okay. So, without saying what King said, were you informed of anything about a little girl that you saw on January 9th, 2024?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece.
Yes.
Okay. And when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know your nieces from Jarvis? Sorry. That is a poorly worded question. I am sorry. If that was your niece, would you have recognized her that day?
Yes.
Okay. And you did not recognize this little girl as your niece, did you?
No.
Okay. What is it that you did after speaking with King that day?
I called Shannon Harris and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And did you eventually talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. What day was it that you went to the shop and saw the little girl?
Can I ask you a question? I didn't remember the exact day at that time.
Okay. What is it that makes you believe that it was Naziah Harris that you saw on that day?
I'm not quite sure how to answer what you're asking me. Like,
That may be a poorly worded question. I'm sorry. Can I just have 1 second, Judge?
Yes.
Ms. Butts, did you come to learn of the day that you had gone to Jarvis's shop by going through the locations on your phone?
yes.
Okay. And that's the day that you don't remember off the top of your head right now, but it is revealed in your phone locations?
Yes.
Let's see here. One second, let me find it. when is it that you went through your phone locations to determine the date? I'm sorry, do you need a moment?
I believe February, I think like 24th or the 26th. I can't remember the exact date.
Okay, that's when you would have went through your phone to find those?
Yes.
Okay, and did you also go through that in your interview with Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. And did you give Sergeant Jones permission to look at your location data?
Yes.
Okay. And your phone kind of extraction in general? Like to go through your phone for the data?
Yes.
Okay. Nothing else, Judge.
Thanks, Chris. Good afternoon. So you go to the shop where your brother works periodically, right?
From time to time, yes.
You've been there prior to the day we've been talking about today?
Yes.
A couple times at least?
Yes.
And you'd been back there after?
Yes.
But the day we've been talking about, that's the only time you ever saw a child there?
That was the only time I saw a child I didn't recognize.
Okay, so you had seen other children there before?
Yes.
Okay, when you say that you recognize, these are who exactly?
My
usually?
nieces.
And when you first arrived at the shop that day, Jarvis told you that he wasn't going to be able to work on your car?
No.
No? Did you ask him if he'd be able to?
Judge, I think this calls for hearsay. They can't admit statements of the defendant.
I'm looking more so for her own statement, actually.
For her
We'll
what?
start with her own statement.
Okay.
Did you ask him right away if he would be able to work on your car
I talked to him prior to coming to the shop.
before you arrived? You asked if he could work on your car that day?
I asked him to look at my car that day.
Okay. Did you arrive at the shop with the understanding that he would or would not be able to?
I arrived at the shop knowing that he was going to look at my car.
Okay. One moment. And was that via text or call or some other way?
Probably video call.
Okay, so a video call a little bit before you headed over?
Earlier in the day, maybe.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly what time.
Okay, so that's how you decided that you'd go over later.
He told me I could come.
Judge, this is kind of all calling for hearsay in a backdoor way.
The response is hearsay. Not
Yes.
that you necessarily asked for it, but it's hearsay.
Sure, we can
Can be
keep it
stricken.
just her own. So to be clear, we don't need to talk about what he said to you, but you did a video call to him. And in that call, you asked if he could work on your car.
You
Right.
keep saying work on my car. I said look at my car.
Okay, look at your car, but you asked him personally in a video call.
Yes.
Okay, and that was maybe that morning.
I don't remember what time of day it was, but it was before I went to him.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and as you were saying, this day, I think you said you saw some other children there at other times, but this particular child, you only ever saw this child on this particular day.
Yes.
And the whole time you were there, from your testimony and from that police interview, you said that you never saw her face.
Yes.
And then you did also see some news stories about this case.
Yes.
Yeah, in the podcast that you talked about. Right, there were some podcasts.
I had already saw her on the news, but I did not know who she was.
Sure, but that was by seeing those stories, that's how you started to think.
Well, I was sent the podcast after some other things that was told to me, That's when I received the podcast.
So initially, between the day you were at the shop, right, and then until you started to see that news, at first you didn't make this connection that maybe she was anyone in particular.
Not at all.
And then through seeing that news, those podcasts, that's when you started to think she
No.
was.
That's not the reason why I thought that.
No, but that's the timing, or it's not?
I guess you could say that.
That's when you started to, at least when you saw those things, that's when you started to wonder.
I was wondering before I saw the podcast.
Okay. In your police interview that you did, did you tell them that at first when you saw the news, you didn't really make a connection because of not having seen her face?
Yes.
Okay. So that interview was on February 26th, 2024, right?
Yes.
And you were having some trouble remembering some of the specific details from January 9th at that point?
Not so much as remembering maybe the order I remembered it in.
Okay. Were there some times, at least though, when you were asked some questions and some details that you had to say, I can't remember some things?
I can't remember now.
Okay. And would you agree that at least
Like,
when
it could have been that.
okay.
I
was just saying-
probably did. I guess it would be safe to say because I didn't know.
Okay, so you think it's safe to say that at that point in time, there are at least some details you were having a hard time, some questions you couldn't answer.
I can't disagree.
And it was pretty close in time, shortly before that police interview. That was when you first started to think that maybe this girl you'd seen at the shop had been Messiah Harris.
Can you repeat that?
So the first time you started to think that maybe that child, the one you saw, maybe that was Messiah Harris, that was pretty close in time to the police interview.
Maybe about a week or so before.
Okay. I believe, does it sound right to you that I think you told the police that it was on the Thursday prior to the interview?
Whatever the Thursday was after Valentine's Day.
Okay. So probably February 22nd. That was the Thursday prior to your interview.
Okay.
And then when you were at the shop, you primarily saw this child while she was inside a truck, right?
I didn't know it was a child in the truck until she kept getting out.
Okay, but when you saw her, she was in a truck?
I saw her getting out the truck, yes.
And were you inside your vehicle?
Yes.
You arrived in the daylight, right?
Yes.
And that's, I think, what you're referring to, right? Initially, that's when you didn't yet know somebody was in the truck.
Can you say that again?
So at the beginning, when you first got there, right, you didn't know right away that somebody was in the truck.
No, I didn't.
I think you had said before, because it was so light outside, it was a bit difficult to see into the truck.
I wasn't really paying attention to his truck. He was outside of it.
Sure. And then in your police interview, you referred to then seeing a light in the truck, and that's when you started to see somebody?
Yeah, that's when the door opened.
Okay, so there's a light turned on, and at the same time, a door opened?
That's the reason the light was on.
Okay, because the truck door was open. Yes?
Sure.
And you said that you saw a couple different times her go back and forth to the gas station?
Yes.
And only at one of those different times, you were on your way to the gas station as well?
Yes.
But for that whole time, she remained in front of you?
When I was going into the gas station, she was in front of me. When I walked into the gas station, she went to the left, I went straight, and over to the right.
For that walk over to the gas station, was it getting dark at that point?
It was already dark.
Okay. And while she was in the truck, you were not sure exactly which part of the truck this was?
I can't remember, no.
Okay. So you understood initially that when you arrived, you'd probably have to wait at the shop sometime?
Yes,
I think you referred to just one other car he worked on first. Is that all there was before you?
it was actually another vehicle out there, but I don't pay my brother to work on my car, so I had to wait until he was done making his money. So
Sure.
I waited.
Sure. So do you know how many cars he worked on before he got to you?
I don't remember.
Okay. Do you know if there were any other customers present in person?
I did see someone, I can't remember what kind of car it was in, but it was, I believe, a gentleman, that needed to pull into the garage because Jarvis asked me to move my car out the way because I was blocking the garage, so, yes.
Was this someone you recognized at all?
No,
So in total, other than Jarvis or who you referred to as King, was there anyone present that you recognized that day?
no, just King and my brother.
So as you said, the sun set while you were there. Do you know about how long it was light out before it got dark?
Well, I got there about 4 o'clock. It didn't take long for it to get dark. I don't remember the exact time, but it got dark pretty fast.
Okay, and then other than when you went to the gas station, were you always at the shop?
What do you mean?
So did you go anywhere else?
No, I never left. All I did was move my car when he asked me to move my car. And once the driveway was clear, I backed back where I was. I didn't go anywhere else.
Okay. And when you were present, not going to the gas station, were you always inside your vehicle?
Yes,
Were your doors open or closed?
closed.
Okay, and were your windows up or down?
They were up unless I asked him something.
Okay, so sometimes if you needed to communicate, you just open the window.
Or I would call him, yeah. Yes.
And you were saying today that at one point you did speak to Jarvis about who this girl was.
Yes.
And when you were talking to the police about this, you had said that you weren't sure exactly what his response was.
What I said was I wasn't sure of the word.
Sure, that's what I mean. That
Okay.
You told the police, right, that it might have been King's niece, or maybe he said it's my homeboy's niece.
He said it was his partner or King's niece, but he definitely said it was someone else's niece.
Okay, I think does it sound right to you that you used the term homeboy's niece with the police?
I probably did.
Okay.
It's all the same to me.
And then that's what you continued to think at first, right? At first, you just believed that it was someone else's niece.
Yeah,
Specifically, you thought it was probably King's niece.
that's what I was told.
Which I think, as we established, right, King is the same person as Cordell, right?
Yes.
And then after that, you would listen to some of these podcasts and to the news.
I listened to his kid's mother, and then I watched the podcast.
Okay, so those are some things that happened. Both.
Yes.
And then once you started to have this different information you were gathering, then you kind of started to look into it for yourself.
Yes.
Do some of your own investigation.
Yes.
And then at one point following that, that's when you decided to go back to the shop
Yes.
to speak to Cordell
Yes.
and to discuss some of these things you've been learning with him.
Yes.
You and Jarvis are not particularly close.
I wouldn't say that we're really distant. I don't see him every day. I don't talk to him every day, but he's my brother.
Okay. He's your brother, but you don't have a very close relationship, or?
He's my brother.
Okay. What about with his children? Are you close with his children?
Some of the ones that I know.
So he has 13 kids, right?
I have no idea.
Do you have an idea of around how many kids he has?
A lot,
Okay. Do some of them live with different mothers?
yes.
And you don't spend time with all of them?
No,
So which ones do you know?
I don't want to say their names. They're minors.
Okay.
And I don't want to disclose their identity.
Could you just give like a number instead? How many do you know?
I'm counting. About 8.
So when you say 8 that you know, does that mean 8 that you have like personal contact with?
She had to count, y'all. She said, hold on. 13. Jesus.
I have.
Okay. When is the last time that you've seen any of them?
About 2 months ago.
Were you and Jarvis raised by your grandmother?
For the most part.
And were there some events surrounding her death that related to your relationship with Jarvis that impacted some things?
No.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
Yes, Judge.
I get the sense that, when the lady was talking to her, it was like, yo, were you close to your brother? She didn't want to say no. So she wanted to just sit in, he's my brother. I pick up that she knew her brother wasn't always on the up and up. So she kind of dealt with him from the long end of the stick. You know, you might have that person in your life to where they be on some other type ish. So you kind of keep your distance. They family and all, but they be on some stuff that you don't really rock with. So she didn't want to say, no, I'm not close to him. She just let that sit with, he my brother. If you close to somebody or not. She didn't want to answer that question. As Javon say, yes, was shady. She knew her brother was shady. He had this her brother. I think she's 46. He's now 41. So what we talking about with a 5-year age difference. So she knew that he was on some type of time that she wasn't. He got 13 kids. She says she ain't know all of them. She know about good 8 of them. So she knew that's why when she talked about having conversations with a couple of the mother of his children, then listening to a podcast, she started having these questions because she know her brother. Listen, y'all, we know our family. We know the hell that, listen, what we not gonna do is act like we don't know our people. Y'all know sometimes we'll play crazy and turn the blind eye to some stuff. But if somebody come to you about your sister, your brother, and they say something that allegedly they did, you know in your spirit if whether or not that's plausible or not. Let's call a thing. You like, yeah, that sounds like some damn stupid ass shit that he or she would do. Or you be like, oh, hell no, that's not, my sister and my brother don't even roll like that. You know what I'm saying? She can't say that. She cannot say that. That's why she's sitting with, listen, he my brother. They look just alike. Have y'all, let me see. I'm gonna show y'all a current it looks like while he's in court, like pictures I've seen, he's cut his hair. But let me show a picture. But yeah, she know her brother is on some other type of stuff, and that's why she stay away from him. This is him on the screen. They look just alike. He looks young, he got a youthful look. Attractive guy, which means he didn't have to be playing around with nobody kids. You can't tell me somebody that looking like this can't attract a grown A woman. Let's just listen. We're not gonna do that. He just has he's sick in the mind to where he don't want nothing to do with no woman. He want the kids. So this is just, just the sickness in him. That's why he need to be put down. They literally need to lock the door, throw away the key. But she know that he was on some type of other stuff, but she didn't want to go there. So that's why when she conversated with the two, so this what is given what happened. When she seen stuff circulating in the news, then the two baby mamas somehow ended up talking with her, talking about their thoughts on it. Then it got her to thinking, because remember, this her brother. She knew them before. She knew her brother before any of them knew. So then she like, well, damn. So then she was like, let me go talk to King. That's the business owner at the mechanic shop. So let me go talk to King, because y'all, her spidey sense stuff going on. She knows stuff ain't right. She knows if she go to him about it, he gonna lie. So she like, forget that. Let me not do that. I'm trying to put two and two together. I didn't talk to the two baby mamas. Something in my spirit ain't sitting right. And because she didn't get into what it was that those two women told her, but it was enough to have her saying something's not right. I need to question who this little girl is. Mind you, remember, she watched the podcast. So then she went to King, had some questions for him. King said some things that she didn't say exactly, go into detail what he said, because it was like, what do they call it? Like he's hearsay. But basically King said, yo, that's the Nazaya girl that was here. That's the girl that's missing. Next, she said she then contacted the police detective or whoever I guess was overseeing the case. For her to be taking action like this, she knew it was plausible that her brother had something to do with it, because she did not talk about when her spidey senses and stuff started going off. She contacted her brother. Why wouldn't she contact her brother to be like, yo, what's the deal? She didn't say nothing about contacting her brother. She talking to everybody else except for the brother. Why? Because I think she know her brother be on some other type of ish, and she know the type of stuff that he's been involved in the past. Remember, we started this live going into his track record. In 2005, he was charged, for something, dealing with an assault. Then following that, there were some things that he done after that. So she know he probably, clearly with his track record, he's done some time before. He's done some time before. She knows her brother's no angel, and she know that he finds himself getting caught up in mess. And it's giving that he's been caught up in some things centered around children that she's aware of, which had her to be like, oh yeah, I need to go and talk to them folks. Forget talking to him, because I know I ain't gonna get no truth from him, because he can't damn tell truth to save his life. That is what that's giving. So she don't want to go into all of that, or her sentiments already that she had on her brother. But she went to the popos to talk about her brother. So it's almost like it's almost like she went to go talk and say, yo, like my brother did this, but at the same time now it's just like she don't want it to look like she's playing a part in getting him sent away. Y'all see what I'm saying? It's almost like she's trying to play two sides. Her natural instinct was, I need to go to the authorities, because she's a woman. Like, listen, I got to go tell somebody. But then now, y'all, time has passed. She's like, oh, snap. My brother looking at some time. This is looking bad. Let me, let me, maybe I can say something or not make it so hard for him. Y'all see what I'm saying? So it's like she's trying her best to kind of backpedal. And child, I'm seeing through it. Y'all let me know what you're picking up, but that's what I'm seeing through it. Hey, what's up, Francis? How are you? Kathleen says most persons don't have adult friends. Most perps. Kathleen said most perps don't have adult friends. Yeah, because it's like they mentals. They can't even connect to adults. It's like mentally, psychologically, it's like they're still like a child. So let me take you back take you back in time. For those of you who are used to my teachings and the things that I talk about over here. If you're new to my channel, hey, I'm Chic. My channel is Chic Speaks, and I have a second channel, Chic Speaks, on it. My background is clinical mental health counseling. So I talk a lot about mental health and the breakdown behind just the thought process, the impacts on people as a result of trauma. So this man is 9 times out of 10, he was abused as a child. We're going to start there. I talk about a lot of times when children are adults, let's just fast forward to adults who are still struggling with mental illness and basically moving like responsible adults. A lot of times they're stuck in the past. They're stuck in a time to where they experience trauma. So it's almost like, let's just say at 12, something traumatic happened to that person. It's almost like their growth became stunted at that time. So psychologically, emotionally, they're stuck at the age of 12. They, even though chronologically they're growing, they're getting older, but they're still stuck in that place where the trauma took place with them. So what this is giving me with this man, with Jarvis Butts, is that he was an abused child. And when that happened to him at a very young age, he's still stuck in that place. So these children that he's abusing that are all underneath 13, to me, it's giving that his trauma happened in the first 10 years of his life, as a young child. So since his mentals is kind of stunted at that place, psychologically, that is what he feels. That's what he feels he connects to, because he never grew past that place. Y'all understand what I'm saying? He's stunted there. Even though today he's 41, psychologically, you all, this man is probably 9 or 10, 13 at best. So he's moving out here in these streets like he's that age when he's a grown ass man. He's now 41. He met this young girl when he was like in his late 30s, 38, 39. He was born in 82. This young girl, when she went missing, was 13. The police from the investigation said that he started talking to her, grooming her 2 years prior, which means she was 11. So this man, he's linking himself up to people who he feels he can connect to psychologically. He can't connect to a woman his age. Intellectually, he's not there on her level. He can't do it. When he's hooking up with these women who is his chronological age, it's only to allow him to be around, to make it more easy, to make it easier for him to be around children who are his where he's at psychologically. So for him, it's easier. Okay, let me line myself up with a woman who got access to children versus him just walking out in the streets and finding the child. You see what I'm saying? It's easier for him to align himself with a woman who already got the children around her. It makes it that much easier for him to do what he's going to do. It makes it less obvious that he's in a place that he ain't got no business being. He's not, okay, it's going to look odd. I go sitting at a park watching the kids play. So, okay, or it's going to look odd me going to the high schools, hanging out around the schools, waiting for the bell to ring for the kids to come out. Y'all remember that R. Kelly stuff he used to do? He'd hang out the McDonald's. The what do you call that? The game that I'm seeing with these predators is now the new, I don't know what the word I want to use, but the new hustle is, let me just use the word hustle. The new hustle is get you a woman that got the kids in the house already. Get you a woman that she already got access. She got her own kids. She got her nieces or nephews. She already got the kids there. Then all you got to do is just, now you in the house, y'all together. Now you didn't put it on her. You living in the house now. You got free reign. You in the candy store. You got access to everybody. You got access to the mama. You got access to the kids, the grandkids. You got access to everybody. That is far easier for a perpetrator than hanging outside looking for just random kids. Y'all see what I'm saying? This is what he did. So what is given is that sister knew that he was on some other type of stuff. She had already heard things. She had already seen signs. But you got some people like, listen, I'm just going to mind my business. I'm just going to stay away from him. Oh, my car broke down. Well, I got to call this crazy. My car broke down, so let me hit him up because I ain't got no money to be fixing it. I don't really fool with him like that. But let me call him. You know what I'm saying? Where people kind of deal with you from the short end. They like, I'm going to keep my distance, but I'll holler at you when I need you because, you know, you my family. But I'm going to stay over here, mind my business, and make sure you don't come near mine. Because you got some people like that, like, shit, as long as they ain't over here messing with mine, that's their business. Whatever they doing out there in them streets, that's their business, but just don't come over here. This is what the sister is giving. She knew these things. That's when I talked about the enabling part, where family members will be your biggest enablers because it's like they feel like, okay, you my family. I don't want to see you locked up. I don't want to see nothing happen to you, even though you a menace to society. But at the end of the day, you family. So it is what it is. Blood over all. You know, like people just choosing a family over protecting the children, over protecting people. It's so sad. Sue says castration. Yes, I'm here for that. Yes. Every vote for castration. Doc says she was not trying to protect him. I felt like she wasn't trying to protect him initially when she went to the popos, but on this stand right now, as they're asking questions about her connection or relationships to him, she don't really want to say, I don't really want that close to him, because she don't want it to lead into, well, why the hell not? Y'all know if somebody like you close to your sister, no, we really not that close. What's the next thing somebody gonna say? Well, what happened? Why not? That is a natural follow-up question. She did not want to get into that. So she kept it at low. Well, he my brother. She didn't answer the question. I feel like in the beginning, when she went to the popo, no, she wasn't trying to protect him. But time has passed. September was when he was arrested and charged. We're fast forward to January, October, November, December, January. We're 4 months later. In this 4-month window, you think this woman haven't been talking to family members about what it looks like as far as if he is found guilty, what that can look like for him? Everybody haven't come to Jesus meetings and grabbing hands and prayer. Yeah, she does look irritated, but I think a lot of the irritation is coming from this woman has had time to think about the part she's played and in him in these charges as far as going to talk. Now she's feeling like, oh snap, this is getting real. I may not see my brother out again. I may not see him out again. So let me just, I got to admit to what I already said on record, but I'm not going to make this that much harder on him or easier for them. So when then people ask me, well, how was your relationship with him? I mean, he my brother. Well, were y'all close? I mean, he my brother. That is a straightforward answer that anybody should be able to answer. You either close to somebody or you goddamn not, period. You close to them or you're not. Who's sitting up in, well, I don't know. Who the fuck don't you know? Ask y'all, am I close to my sister? Yes, I am. Oh, okay. Am I close to my brother? Your answer might be no. Well, why not? Well, his ass be doing the most. He be stealing and robbing and thieving and all that. That is natural. That woman did not want to go down that path. That woman did not want to go down that path, y'all. So she kept with, listen, he my brother, period. Kathleen says, I'm sure it was a difficult decision. Yes. I think in the moment when she reacted and went to the police, it was out of just the emotion with her doing what she felt and knew in her soul and her spirit what was right. So she reacted and she went to the police. But you all, a lot of times what people over time, people start to question why they do some of the people start to question their decisions. I feel like in this 4-month period, she's thinking about how whatever she said, how it may be able to work against her brother. So now it's just like, oh snap, man, I was emotional then. But now I'm like, man, I don't know. I want to help him. I don't want him to be found guilty of these charges. So I got to stand on what I said back then. But any new ish that come up as far as questions, I'm not going to say anything that's going to incriminate him further or have them to probe any further. Hence, when they asked, are you close to your brother? And she could not say yes or no. She could not say yes or no. This is what I'm giving, what I got from that response. That was very telling to me. Her heart and her sentiments is not in the same place today, meaning January, as it was in September when she walked into that police station, or however she had a conversation with the police. Remember, you all, 4 months has passed. Think about the people, the conversations she's had with people since then. 4 months. That's a kind of, it's a while. It's a short period of time, but it's a length of time for somebody to have a change in feelings and a change in thought on some things. Sue says she had enough of his debauchery. Yes, she did. Sue says the physical physique of a man and mentality of a child. Yes. Yes. All of that. Sue says, I'm just so tired of these perpetrators messing with kids regardless of what they went through. Yes, I hear you. So Doc says she was irritated. She was very irritated. She's very irritated. Suze Robinson said, but here's the thing. Peep this. Her irritation was coming from the irritation. It's coming from the parts on trying to kind of paint a picture of like who her brother is, what type of character he is. It's like she don't really want to get into that. Sue says, Doc, yes, definitely agitated because he's had to be caught up, because she had to be caught up in his decisions. And that's what happens. But here's the thing. When we spend so much time choosing to turn the blind eye and be an enabler, it catches up to us, to where there comes that moment where we got to deal with it, and we got to sit into, wow, all that time where you chose to just turn the blind eye and not call somebody out on their stuff. Like, it catches up to you. Sue says, well, if she said they weren't close, the prosecutor could then say she's out to get him because they have a contentious relationship. Sue says, I don't care who it is, a brother, sister, mom, dad. If you hurt a child, you are going down. I feel you, but there are a lot of people, they don't have the same sentiments. Remember when Nicki Minaj's brother, who went to trial, was found guilty of essaying his stepdaughter? Remember, Nicki paid for his trial fees and everything. Jelani, I think his name was Jelani. Nicki paid for everything. He still was found guilty and he's doing time somewhere, but she was a rider regardless of whatever the evidence was, even like other kids in the house being witnesses. Nicki still stood by the side of her brother. So you do have people who, regardless of what the evidence looked like, they will still play blind, crippled, and crazy as though they ain't seen or heard the same thing you seen and heard. Mind you, this is her brother. You mean to tell me that Nicki didn't know what type of brother she had and what his capabilities was prior to that incident? I'm just saying, y'all, we got to really, think through this stuff, and everybody don't think the same. And some of us may feel like, listen, I don't care who you are, wrong is wrong. But then you got some to where when it comes to their family and loved one, the rules change. The rules change. Doc says true, but unfortunate. Yes. So let's get back to the sister's testimony. We're nearing the end. We don't have really much more to go, but I just kind of wanted to just kind of point that out. We got right around 10 minutes left. So thank you all for joining. Please like the video, like, share, and subscribe. We are listening to the sister of the suspect in the Naziah Harris murder trial. This is what's her brother. Her brother is Jarvis Butts. And this woman on the stand, I think her name is Tijuana Butts. I think it's Tijuana or Tijuana Butts is the name of the sister. So let's get into, what she has to say as she wraps up her testimony on this trial that began this week. Fair use.
Ms. Butts, you said that there was another reason. There was a different reason that she thought that it was Naziah that she would saw that day. When you were starting to compile, or when you talked to Shannon Harris, and then you got the podcast. Before that, you said there was other reasons why you had thought that was Messiah.
So, am I?
Yes,
can I
what-
speak for-
what is that?
Okay,
Yes.
so, at the time, I didn't know. Once I realized that it was a possibility, that I saw her, there were several reasons that led me to believe, that it was a possibility I was there. And I didn't want to get into detail as far as what I knew before the podcast. But if you would like, I would explain to you why I thought these things.
Your Honor,
It's up to you.
can we approach? Yes. We'll be right back. Go in the hallway.
I will say it is unfortunate for the sister to be placed in this situation. I think it's always unfortunate for family loved ones to be placed in a situation to have to just speak on their family members, their loved ones, because of some horrible things that they did that has nothing to do with them, but they're caught in the middle because they have to acknowledge the wrongful doings of this person. But at the same time, like I said, they're like, this is family, and I don't want to see them go away and do time. But at the same time, they did this, so there's a family who's impacted by that, so they're living with that. It's just a bad situation that a lot of times family are put in when other family members are just, yes, great word, what you said, Doc, you said torn. Yes, this woman, like from the beginning of her testimony, she was shaking. I can damn near see her heart pounding through her chest. She can't stop crying. That's what I said. Y'all think about the last 4 months this woman been going through. From the time she went and spoke to the police, this is the brother, this is him. Don't he look like Michael Ealy looking down? He looks like Michael Ealy looking down right there. But this woman, she's torn. Like, think about for the last 4 months, what's been going through her. She probably ain't slept, can hardly eat, because it's just like her brother did wrong, but at the same time, it's her brother. Think about how her family may be coming at her. Because remember, they know, okay, she got to testify. Think about the things that they're saying to her as far as to say, well, listen, don't say this, don't say that. He got these kids out here. He got 13 kids. Like, we can't have him found guilty. Who finna be out here to help with these kids? Like, you know, TT need her daddy. CC need her daddy. Like, just don't be giving them too much. Y'all, this woman is in a bad place. May the Lord be with her. So she's frustrated. I bet you she got all kinds of emotional sentiments. She's frustrated. She's sad. She's angry. She's hurt. And I'm willing to bet most of those emotions are feelings that she feels towards her brother. But at the same time, this is her brother, so she knows what his childhood was like. She knows that her brother is sick and what the root of it is from. Remember, she's the oldest sister. It is likely that what he encountered, she encountered too, but she dealt with it differently. People deal with trauma differently. And she may have managed to get through life in a way to where she was able to keep it together in a way that he wasn't, where it didn't have her to go down a path of, but child, we don't know her background. So, but we're going to, just based off of what she's giving, she could have very well chose to go down a different path than him and didn't allow for what happened to her as a child to shape her as an adult.
No, this is it. I got like 2 items.
So sad.
Okay, we are back on the record. Ms. Butts, you are still under oath. Ms. Swift, you go right ahead.
Thank you. So, Ms. Butts, when what's the sources of these reasons that you have? Are these things that you know from your personal knowledge? Are these things that you observe yourself?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Repeat that.
So these reasons that you were thinking of, what are the sources of them? Is it somebody told you something? Is it something that you saw yourself, you observed, or a coupling of that?
I would say a bit of both. Things that I was told and things that I heard.
Okay. Were there heard from Jarvis?
No.
Okay. Were these things that you had already known prior
to
thinking that was Messiah that you saw?
I'm sorry, I'm confused on the question.
So are these things the sources that you have for these reasons? Are they like things that you have personal knowledge of, or are they things that somebody told you about?
These were things that I was told. I'm trying to understand the question that you're asking me.
Ms. Ripley, you're referring to the question before we went into sidebar about her leading up to believing that it was possibly Messiah Harris at the shop, correct?
Yes.
Does that help clarify
Okay.
the line of questioning?
Yes.
Okay. So those reasons, those things, are those things that you had known before? Are they based on your observations, or?
Well, these were things that I was told. And after asking the questions that I needed to ask, I came up with the conclusion that it was a possibility that Nazaria was the little girl that I saw that day.
Okay, thank you. You said that when you were parked at Jarvis's shop, that it was getting dark out.
Yes.
Okay. That darkness, is that maybe the reason why the color on the jacket stood out?
Well, the jacket didn't stand out until I was walking into the gas station behind her because I wasn't really like paying attention to what she had on. I just kept seeing her get in and out of the truck, going in the gas station and coming back to the truck. And that's what caught my attention.
Okay, so the movement is what attracted you to it at first.
Yes.
Okay. Nothing for the judge. Nothing further.
Okay, Ms. Bussey, you're done testifying. The case.
Oh, I'm sorry, had it on mute. So that ends the testimony of the sister of Jarvis Butts, the man on trial for the murder of 13-year-old Naziah Harris. Again, they have not found a body, but the police believe that she is no longer with us. They found her clothing articles of her clothes from what she was last seen wearing. They have blood on it. Plus, they got a bunch of text messages and things like that from communication between he and Naziah, indicating that she was pregnant and all of that. So I will add you all. This man also had a fiance. He has a fiance. So it looks like she testified as well. And it looks like her testimony is about 14 minutes. So we can get into that, because I'm kind of curious to know what she had to say. So y'all let me know in the comments if y'all want to get into this fiance's testimony, because I'm like, wow, like this man was really doing the absolute most. And I wondered if she was the one, is she the one who has the children with the 5 kids by him, the Naziah's cousins, which means her niece is the one that's missing. Like, I'm curious to know, like, well, what her headspace is, the fact that her niece is the one who's believed to be dead at the hands of her fiance. Crazy. Sue says, right, she's going through every emotion possible, all of them. Kathleen says, someone recently found her school ID. I did see that when I was kind of taking a deep dive into this case. I saw that her ID was found. Let me see. I found an article that gave me like the timeline. I've been looking at so many different things, but it was a timeline that showed like when everything happened. But I do recall, seeing in the timeline where her ID was found. And yeah, so, and based off of her, just the hard stop in her communications on her social media, the text messages, it seems like, that it's almost like she went off radar. So let me see what else. People are saying Doc says not the same person. Okay. So I did read they found the ID, but Doc said his fiance is not Naziah's aunt. He gets around, child. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you for that, Doc. Because I'm like, okay, is this the aunt? But okay. So okay. Jesus. It's a lot. Sue says, I'll listen to what you have. Okay. So we're going to get into, yeah, I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play the interview, the testimony of the aunt. No, I'm sorry, not the aunt, the fiance. This is a fiance. So apparently this is another woman. This is not the mother of this is not Naziah's aunt. So we're gonna take give me 2 minutes. I'm gonna take a little break while I get some things up and ready to show you all. So please, thank you for being here with me this evening. Please like the video, like, share, subscribe. Give me a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, so let me bring up the interview or the testimony of with the fiance. Let me see. Might be here. Okay. So that's not it. Okay. Okay. So this is the fiance's testimony. So it's not too long. It's way shorter than the last testimony, but I'm curious to hear what she has to say because child, she said he had 13 kids. They like, well, do you know them all? She like, no, I don't. Well, how many you know? She had to close her eyes and start doing Chinese math to come up with the number 8. I challenge her to know if she know all their names and birthdays. So they ain't even try to do her like that. or even ages. It's a mess. She knew her brother was a mess. She knew he was a mess. Sue says he cozies up to women who come to his shop to get their cars repaired. Child, fix it. Jesus, fix it. Sue says, I'm so pissed right now. We'll have to go into prayer to release this anger. It's a lot, y'all, but we about to get into it, y'all. Y'all get comfortable because this trial just started this week. So we've heard the testimony from the sister. She may be back. She may get placed back on the stand with the way it ended. She might be back. She might come back. But I did see that the fiance testified. So I'm like, well, let's get into see what she had to say. We got time today, cuz. So thank you for being here with me. I hope you all are safe and warm. Right now, we are about to hear the testimony of the fiance of Jarvis Butts, the man who was on trial for the murder of 13-year-old Naziah Harris. So fair use, fair use.
Give the court reporter your name right here, and then I'll swear you in.
Y'all think she's still standing by this man through all of this? Because it's saying fiance, it say ex-fiance. We need an X in front of that.
You swear to tell the truth, no truth, and nothing but the truth. Yes. Watch your step. And once you get situated, you can hold that.
It's the dress for me coming to court.
Right in your lap, or just link to it. Okay. You just tug it off of it.
May I proceed, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. Could you state your name for the record, ma'am?
Tashiana Davis.
Shake my head.
Ms. Davis, I want to
Shake
ask
my
you
head, Doc.
about someone by the name of Jarvis Butts. Do you know that person?
Yes,
And how do you know Mr. Butts?
he was my fiance.
And do you see Mr. Butts in the courtroom today?
Yes,
Could you point to him and identify a piece of clothing that he's wearing?
she's right there with a green top on.
For the record, the witness has identified the defendant, Jarvis Butts, in this matter.
So reflect.
And I wonder how many kids she got.
And how long, you said he was your fiance.
Yes,
How long in total have you known Mr. Butts?
4 years.
And-
Since 2019.
2019?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
I called
Yes.
that, Doc.
And when did you become engaged?
2023.
And can you tell us a little bit about the nature of that relationship? Do you have any children with him? Things like that.
No children.
Okay. And would Mr. Butts sometimes stay over at your house?
Yes.
How often would that happen?
Pretty often, but we didn't live together.
Okay. I want to take your attention back to January of 2024 and February of 2024. Did there come a time when Jarvis Butts asked you to drive him to court?
Yes.
And when was that?
February 7th.
Of 24?
Yes.
And was there a time before that that you had to drive him to court?
Yes.
And when was that?
January, I think it was the 9th.
Okay.
It was in January.
So you've at least driven him to court twice?
Yes.
And let's talk about the January 9th date that you drove him. What was the reason he wasn't driving himself? Why were you driving him?
Because he thought he was gonna have to turn himself in then for another case, and then they rescheduled it.
Okay, so on the 9th, he was supposed to turn himself in, but didn't actually end up doing that.
Correct.
Okay. And then on the 7th, did he ask you to drive him to court again?
Yes,
And what was the reason that you drove him to court on the 7th?
because he was supposed to turn himself in.
And did he end up turning himself in on the 7th?
Yes.
Okay. When you were driving him on the 7th of February 2024, first, what kind of car do you drive?
2005 Suburban,
And what color is it?
tan,
And when you were driving him to court, who else was with you, if anyone?
nobody.
Just you and Mr. Butts?
Yes,
And when you were driving him to court, did you ask him about his cell phone?
yes.
What did you ask him?
I said, where's your phone?
And what was his response when you asked him that question?
He left it at home.
And did you have any other conversation regarding his phone on the 7th when you were driving him to court?
No.
And what did he, you said he did turn himself in?
Yes,
And so you drove back home, correct?
yes,
Did you eventually have some contact with the police department?
yes.
And where were you when you had that contact?
In the hospital.
And what did they ask you about generally?
Did I know anything about a missing child?
And do you know anything about missing child?
No.
Did they ask you about his cell phone?
Yeah, I believe so.
And did you know or have any reason to believe, other than what Jarvis told you, that his phone was someplace else?
No.
And did you know that his phone was in your car?
No.
Did you give permission to the police to search your car?
No, they just came and took it.
They had a search warrant?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you present at your house when they came and took your car?
No.
And did you observe them search through your car and pull anything out?
No.
Oh. May I have one moment, Judge?
Yes.
And you said you knew Jarvis Butts for 4 years?
Yes.
And would you communicate with him via cell phone?
Yes.
And do you know the last 4 digits of his phone number, if you remember? If you don't remember,
I don't remember.
okay. With looking at text messages, refresh your memory?
Yes.
No, they didn't ask her if she
May I
had
approach
any
her?
children. Just if she had any with
If
him.
you could just look at the phone numbers on it.
But I was curious to know
And
if
does
she
that
had any
refresh your
kids in the
memory?
home.
And what were the last 4 digits of Jarvis Butts' phone number?
8719.
At some point after you dropped Jarvis Butts off at the courthouse and he turned himself in, did you go to his place of employment on at 9000 Connors?
No.
Okay, did you ever talk to his business partner, Cordell Wright?
No.
Okay. I have nothing further to say.
Thank you.
Morning, Ms. Davis. You met Mr. Butts at Frank's Garage, is that right?
Yes.
And that's where Mr. Butts was working about 4 years ago.
Yes.
You were taking your car there,
Yes.
and I think in your words you said you kind of never left after you met him. Is that
Right.
fair to say?
Yes.
You guys got along really well,
Yes.
and you just kind of started a relationship from there.
Yes.
Would you go up to the garage after that relationship started,
Yes.
kind of just to drop in?
Yes.
At any point in time while you were at Frank's Garage, did you ever see any children there?
No.
Is it fair to say that Mr. Butts was very protective of his phone around you?
Yes.
He would never let you see his phone screen.
No.
Wouldn't give you access.
No.
Certainly
That
didn't
should have
give you
been a
his,
red flag
passcode
right
or
there.
anything. In fact, you've actually actively tried to get into his phone, right?
Yes.
I think you had mentioned that when he was sleeping, you tried to kind of wave it in front of him to see if
Yes.
that would unlock it.
Mhm.
You took a picture of his face once and tried to
Yes.
put the screens together. So you wanted to know what was in his phone.
Yes.
She knew
Um,
someone right.
And he did not want you to know what was in his phone,
No.
as far as you know?
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why he was so secretive with his phone?
Yes.
And does it have something to do with the fact that he was seeing other ladies?
Yes.
And you suspected that at the time,
Yes.
and so that's why you were looking for proof?
Correct.
Okay. So even though you suspected that Mr. Butts was unfaithful to you, you still stayed with him.
Yes.
One reason for that is because he was good with the kids.
Yes.
He cared for your kids.
Yes.
He took them places.
Yes.
He took your son up to the shop.
Yes.
He showed him how to change the oil in the car.
Correct.
And you viewed him as a good father figure.
Yes.
I want to pause right there because these are some of the things that I talk about on this channel about when it comes to just self-esteem, self-worth, value. Because when you don't have any of those things going on prior to meeting someone and entering a relationship, someone will come along and take notice of that and take advantage of you. This is a woman that just said from the beginning, he was always secretive of his phone. He never left it laying around. She's tried to break into it. She's questioned him about things. You're only doing that when you feel that something is not right. And even though she was feeling that something wasn't right from her woman's intuition, her gut instinct, she said she still chose to be with him because he was good with her kids. What? He was good with her kids. This woman already just gives okay. I'm about to take this conversation into another direction that some don't like to acknowledge that it is a thing, but it is a thing. We're going to talk about appearances and looks. You have some people, we're going to talk about women, but right now is the dynamics between man and a woman and looks compatibility. This woman that we see on our screen is a heavy set woman. The man who she is referring to as being her fiance is not a plus size man. And he is a man that I would say the average woman from a look standpoint would find him to be relatively attractive. So with that being said, a woman that has her physical appearance, which isn't the ideal image of what many in America perceived as the beauty standard, coming from just body type, coming from just facial features, just the looks in general. This woman to me is giving that a man of how he looks, a man of his caliber based off of how he looks isn't what normally would check for her. So she's feeling very just honored and appreciative that she even got this man in her bed to begin with, because she's still just in awe over the fact that he over there trying to be with her, that she was quote unquote chosen. We cannot ignore the reasons as to why she may have been chosen. And it likely could have been because of the resources that she may have had to be able to offer him at the time. Money. She had her own place. She has stability, much of a lot of things that probably he did not have. This man preyed on her. He preyed on her insecurities. So that's why all he had to do was just come through, put it down, and play with the kids, and she was good. A woman who values herself and knows her self-worth would not have settled for what he was giving because he was running around playing catch with her son. Kathleen says low self-esteem. Yes, a lot of times the self-esteem in women is driven from how they view themselves, like when they look in the mirror. So low self-worth, another good one, Kathleen, low self-worth. This woman on this stand had low self-esteem and low self-worth, and that man knew it. This man who we've seen, I showed this picture, what he looks like. This man, it's clear this has been a man that ever since as a little boy has been, it started out as an attractive little boy and then grew into be an attractive young man. And today he's an attractive man. So he can pull all different types of women, but it's only certain ones that he wants to align himself with. And he wants to align himself with the ones whose self-esteem is in the mud, because he knows those are the ones that don't know their value and who he can get over on. Because another attractive woman whose looks are just as compatible as his, it is less likely that the stuff that what he was willing to give to his shenanigans, that they were going to tolerate it. Because why? Because she knows that her market value when it comes to men is just as high as his when it comes to women. I would probably be willing to bet that most of his baby mamas are women to where in the looks compatibility, it don't line up with his. I'm going to call a thing a thing. That's why I say, ladies, take care of yourself. because what they say, when you look good, you feel good. I am willing to bet this is a woman that is not happy with how she looks when it comes to her weight. Most plus size women who have a lot of weight on them, they're not. Regardless of what you might say, hear them say, "Oh, I'm big and sexy." The average woman ain't trying to be overweight. Let's call a thing a thing. What they do is, since they got to carry the weight, they act as though they're good with the weight because they don't know how to get rid of the weight. Lizzo, for example, Lizzo created her whole brand about being a plus size woman. But the minute somebody make a joke, call her fat, whatever, she on Beyonce's Diddy internet crying. Now, if y'all, I don't know when last time y'all seen Lizzo, but Lizzo getting that weight off. Lizzo never was good with having that weight. But when she came onto the scene, she had that weight. So she created this brand around being morbidly obese. So she created a following. And guess what? A bunch of women who look like her came to love her. So now the moment she talked about trying to get that weight off, oh, it's a problem. It's a problem. It's a problem. And a lot of times it be that way because misery loves company. People don't want to see you do better. They want to see you stay in this same place that they are. So that's when you'll hear a lot of these narratives with these big women talking about they happy about it. They a damn lie. I'm saying it is what it is. They lying. This is what they're telling themselves to sleep at night. This woman had a nice, attractive, light-skinned man with good hair laid up on the side of her that eventually asked her to be his wife. That's how they became engaged. And she's sitting and feeling like she done got chosen. She done got chosen. And Sue says what? Oh, the pick me syndrome. Now she ain't even paying attention, y'all, and giving a damn about what the hell she got chosen by. That she got chosen by a monster. She's just glad that she got chosen. This woman, this is probably the first time probably a man probably ever even asked her to be his wife. Because guess what? In the Black community, most Black women have never even been proposed to. The average Black woman has never been proposed to. That's why most Black women aren't even married. Y'all, listen, I'm just calling it is what it is. Looking like Doc said, looking like Mike Ely. She trying to fit, y'all, every night she was going to bed like, oh my God. Ooh, how I get him. Ooh, I done got, her friends, people coming in her circle like, ooh, he fine. Where you find him at? I need to go hang up out there at the mechanic shop. Where you find, y'all, she's feeling special because I'm willing to bet that this is her first time ever having someone that looks anything like him check for her. I bet you. So she missing all the red signs because she just happy that she was picked. She done talked about, she tried to damn put the phone up to the man. Who doing all that? If y'all ladies, if you got to do all of that, be trying to break into the phone, person sleep, you putting the phone to their face because you trying to see something, you don't need to be with that. That's enough right there. There is no reason that you should be in a relationship with somebody and they're holding their phone hostage like that. That is not normal. This woman knew this ish wasn't normal because guess what? If that's normal, she wouldn't even care. She wouldn't have been trying to do that, but she knew that wasn't normal. But because he running around looking like Michael Ealy with pretty hair, light skin, she was like, well, I mean, it'd be all right. That's why that lawyer said, so even with all of that, you still chose to be in a relationship with him. With all of that, because, all that got typed and put on the record. Ma'am, even with all of that, you're saying you still chose to be in a relationship with him. Yes, because, he was good to my kids. What? What about being good to their mama? That's why I'm saying I had to pause it right here, because this woman right here, I can look at her and tell that her self-esteem and where it needs to be. It's not where it needs to be. And the telltale sign is all the weight that she's carrying. Because guess what? Stress brings on weight. Trauma brings on weight. This is a woman who has been through some things. She looks like it. She's beautiful. Locks, I'm a natural, I'm locked. She's beautiful. But this isn't a woman who believes that. Who believes that she deserves more, that she believes she deserves better. That's the sad part. And who knows what her story is and what kind of trauma she may have encountered in her life. Because unfortunately, the way these stats are, thank you, the way these stats are when it comes to trauma and what children are endured, what type of trauma and being essayed, y'all, these numbers are so crazy. It's damn near like 1 in 3 people. Either you didn't had it happen to you, or somebody very close to you, your sibling, have had it happen to you. So it's a good chance that this woman have experienced some type of trauma in her life that had her to feel like she wasn't loved, she wasn't good enough, made her where she was made to feel like her skin wasn't beautiful, her hair wasn't beautiful, her body wasn't beautiful. You also, when she met this Michael Ealy lookalike telling her how sexy and beautiful she is, that woman couldn't stop smiling. Y'all heard her say it's like she never left the mechanic shop ever since. She stayed having to come up there to get something worked on her car. You know how you find excuses. Oh shit, can you help to show me where the gas nozzle is on the car? I just got the car. I forgot. I don't know where it is. Y'all, she said you couldn't keep her from up there because she done seen some fine specimen there who done damn told her she was sexy, who done gave her attention in a way that she wasn't used to getting it. Y'all know them ones that don't take much. That Michael Ealy that called her ass sexy. She took off walking. Y'all remember that scene in Waiting to Exhale when what's the one, the thick one that she walked off and the man was looking at her butt and she put that extra little twitch in her butt as she walked off. This woman probably lost her mind that day at that shop when that man told her how sexy she was. He was preying on her. And a lot of men will do that, especially a lot of attractive men that knows that they got a lot of options and they know how to choose those ones that don't have a lot of options. They know how to pick them out. They know how to pick them out. That's why I also tell ladies who are plus size. Some of you may know this, some of you may not, but you're going to learn something today. Welcome to Sheik's class. We the honor students over here. Ladies, wait. The way men view women who are overweight, they view them as saviors. Women who are overweight, Loretta Devine, thank you for that, Doc. You remember that scene, Loretta Devine? She put that extra twitch in her step when that man was looking at her. Men view overweight women as like the help, like somebody who can be their savior. Overweight women are viewed as having good credit, good jobs, and being riders, meaning that they gonna ride out for you when you're going through something. They gonna hold you down. That is what the stigma of plus size women. Ladies, be mindful of this when you come across these men. And another thing I want to point out, when it feels like it's too good to be true, yes, you know you beautiful, but when you see, but when you really feeling like, now why the hell this man checking for me? Really explore that because there's something there. There is something there. Explore that. I once told a plus size woman that was dating a man who was super, super attractive and she didn't know what his previous women looked like, but he said they used to be like IG type models. I said, in the future, whenever you date a guy, try to find out what them other women look like. If them damn women don't look ish like what you look like, meaning they looking like Instagram models and you looking like Loretta Devine, Houston, there's something there. There is something there. It will behoove you to stop and to question why the sudden change in the type of woman that has his attention. It can save your life. It can save your credit. It can save your bank account, and it can save you plenty of heartache and pain. But a lot of women don't want to do that because they don't want to see what them other ones look like, to see that it was in a completely different league than what they may view themselves in. But I challenge you to do that because by you doing that, you will be able to start to ask questions as to why the sudden change in the type of woman that this man is now taking interest in. Because as I said, the plus size woman comes with they have it's the thought of she a rider, she gonna take care of me, she got good credit, she got a lot of money. This woman I'm talking about, She checked the boxes on all of them. She had more than what this man or these men had. But women don't want that. Women don't want it. This is the delusion part. I say it a lot on my channels. A lot of women are delusional. I truly, truly feel like more women sit in delusion than men, because women will continue to try to convince themselves of some shit that ain't like this woman. She done convinced herself, y'all, that she got her a good one. Even though she done put on record how this man was holding his phone hostage. And it just wasn't even no option for her to even think that she can know what was popping off in that phone. But her reasoning for being with him was because he was good with her kids. This is the issue I'm talking about. This is the issue I'm talking about. Ladies, do your research. Learn about the previous women. What type of women were they? How do you compare to those women? That's when the questions start. That's why I say smart people ask questions. Don't ever make nobody have you to feel bad because you're around here asking questions. That's what smart people do. We don't sit in the unknown. We ask questions. We seek answers because it can save you. It can save your life. It can save your loved one's life. It can save you from a lot of heartache and pain. It can save your credit. It can save you. Ask questions. This woman had questions. She was answering them. She was answering, but she was okay with not getting the answers because living in Delulu, living in the land of Delulu, she had convinced herself that it was okay. And that the fact that he was choosing to be over there with her, that spoke volume. That meant that he clearly wanted to be with her, regardless of what he had popping off. He wanted to be with her because she was the one who he eventually proposed to. He was the one, laying up, that was coming through, that he was choosing to lay up with on that particular night. Child, folks, but listen, folks don't get enough of goddamn being delusional. That's why a lot of women get their feelings hurt. This right here is why a lot of women get her feelings hurt. Suze, Doc, yes, Loretta Devine is very pretty, but going off of societal beauty standards, that is not going to be Loretta Devine. And that's not going to be this woman on the screen. And guess what? These women know that. We're not crazy. We can talk about who's beautiful and all, but when you go off of what societal standards are, that's a different conversation. Beyonce is beautiful from societal standards. This woman on the screen is beautiful. You see what I mean when I see the two difference, the contrast of what societal beauty is versus just anyone else recognizing another beautiful person. These women who know that they are not the societal beauty standards, they are very aware of this. Guess what? And people remind them that contributes to why their self-esteem is what it is. People remind them that they're not beautiful in societal standards. Y'all, it's levels to this. It's levels to this. If you ain't got no self-esteem, I urge you to get some. Get some. Get some. Sue says, and has she taken time to ask her kids if anything happened to them? That was a question I had while she was on the stand. Doc says there is always an exception to the rule. Always. There's always an exception to the rules, but what we like to speak on is what the what do I say? You say the norm. We talk about what the norms are because there's always exceptions to the rule. But I like to talk in what is the norm, because talking about the anomalies does not protect our people. It don't protect you. It don't protect me. It don't protect anyone. When you talk about the exceptions, the one-offs, we have to speak in generalization to protect so people can know collectively how you should move. Because if they say, okay, somebody can leave a door open and unlocked at night and nobody's coming in, but in other instances, people are leaving their doors unlocked and people are coming in, we're not going to push, okay, y'all leave your doors unlocked because this person over here in this community said nobody came. But though people in other communities in large numbers have said, well, I had my door unlocked, people came in. Guess what? We're going to tell everybody, lock your doors. Even though Lisa's door has been unlocked for 5 years, but you got Brenda, Karen, Betty, Sue, Linda, who said their door was unlocked and somebody just came in. So we're going to push y'all, everybody lock your door. That's how I speak over here, because it's safer to talk about the generals of what's happening than the one-offs, than the anomalies. Sue says he can keep that proposal. I know that's right. Sue says, yes, exceptions. And a lot of times people want to fool themselves and think, well, maybe I'm the exception. Okay, well, like I said, ask questions, seek answers. And if the answers that you're receiving from your questions don't make you feel good and make you feel a certain type of way, take that as a sign that it's time to move on and move around. This Michael Ealy looking like is a monster. But though somebody who, and Michael Ealy, that's from societal norms, is considered an attractive person, whereas and what I mean by that is when you take a person and you put them before people of all different cultural groups, will collectively in larger numbers, somebody from every cultural group will find that person to be attractive. So this is what I'm gauging this off of. She could have easily be with a man who ain't looking like Michael Ealy and maybe like a 5 or 6 in looks, but though it be an upstanding guy. But she see this Michael Ealy look-alike, and she's like, bet. She got caught up in his looks. She got caught up in his charm. The finesse. It was the finesse. He told her all the right things in between them lies. And they were things she wanted to hear. Even if they were lies, it was like she welcomed, like, okay, well, hell, he ain't calling me fat and ugly. So he telling me I'm beautiful, even if he is just trying to get some money up out of me, a place to lay his head for the night, try to get the keys to my car. He's saying nice things. He could be saying other things to me. So I'm gonna take what I can get. Sue says, I got something waiting if they make it through my door uninvited. That's what I'm talking about. So we got to take care of ourselves according to what the data shows, that says you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of yourself. That's what we're doing over here. But I just want to add that, you all, self-esteem is important. If you are not happy with how you look, which is impacting, with how you feel, do something about it. Change it. On my channel, Chic Speaks, I have live workout videos where I do live workouts. Check out some of those videos. When you look good, you feel good. All of that play is hand in hand. If you're not liking what you see in the mirror, do something about it. Change it. Change it. Only you can do something about it. And I assure you, when you start to make those changes with your body, it's going to start to impact how you feel about yourself in a good way. I've yet to see someone who intentionally make changes to their bodies to get the weight off, and they say mentally they feel worse. I have not seen that. I've not heard that. That's just not what happens. People tend to feel better about themselves when they start to like what they see in the mirror. So if you're not happy with what you see in the mirror, I challenge you this year to work on that. Put in the work. If you want to know where to start, follow me on some of my content. I talk about, look for the videos where I'm in my workout attire. I do my workouts in the beginning, on the back end of the video, maybe the last 30 minutes of the video. I do inspirational messaging. I talk to you about what you may have witnessed me do, the whys behind I do it, just as a means to motivate you to get to it. I'm no different from anyone else. 44 years old, married 20 plus years, 3 kids, child, busy, job. I got everything going on like everybody else. But I take time to pour into myself. Take time for yourselves, ladies. Take time for yourselves. We be so busy pouring into everybody. She pouring into this man and neglecting herself. Who's taking care of you? Who's taking care of this woman on the screen? Nobody. But she was taking care of him, taking care of some kids, not even knowing probably what was popping off with her kids. Who knows if she even stopped to question her kids? Some women, they don't even want to know the answer, so they don't even stop to ask them. I talked about that in my review of Drea Kelly video. Check that out if you haven't watched that, where Drea Kelly talked about her marriage with R. Kelly and his abuse and all of that. And, you know, the question came up about, you know, the children witnessing any abuse and things like that. And basically what I got out of her response was she didn't ask them. Sometimes people don't want to know, so they don't ask. Because guess what? When you don't ask, you can sit in, well, I just didn't know. And you feel, versus you asking, getting the answer and choosing to not react. Some people would rather not know, so therefore they don't have that accountability to have to move around and to do something different. There are so many people like that. It's crazy, crazy work. Let me just listen. I don't know. So, you know, like this woman, her gut told her he was running around on her, but she didn't have no like hard proof, like she was looking for it in his phone. But she was good with that because it's like, well, ain't nobody came knocking on my door. I ain't seen no text messages because he won't show me anyway. So I really technically don't know if he out there or not. You know what I'm saying? It's the mental gymnastics that people will do with themselves to justify not making the best decisions. Very sad. Very sad. Rasu says, I'm on the opposite end where I'm always told how skinny or small I am. Yes, I mean, I've been told that too. But the thing is, more people would rather be on the opposite end, Suze, like yourself for me, versus the other end. So a lot of times people will make comments about a smaller person's body weight and things because it's something that they desire for themselves. Always remember that. What I say on my channel, a lot of times after my fitness videos, I talk about thinking about the messenger. Sometimes you all, when we hear things, we can't ignore the messenger. We have to pay attention to who this is coming from. Because the question, Suze, do skinny people make comments about you being too skinny? Or is it people who are visibly overweight? I have yet to ever have anyone who's in a healthy weight make a comment about my weight. Ever. It is always someone who is visibly overweight. And guess what? If you talk to those people long enough, they will make comments about wanting to lose weight themselves. So always remember, do not ignore who the messenger is. And when you think about it from that level, from that place, it'll have you not take it so personal when people make these comments to you. Think about who it's coming from. You can't ignore that because it makes a difference. If it's coming from someone who doesn't have a healthy weight themselves, you might as well act like you didn't even hear it because it don't even matter because it's the audacity. But that's someone who's low-key hating because they can't have that same body size. It is what it is, y'all. When you know, you know. Doc says mental health wellness is crucial also all day. That's what I talk about on my channel all day. Doc says mental health and weight gain are closely interconnected, with mental health issues potentially contribute to change in weight. Yes, so many people, you don't know how many times I've heard stories of women or even men who talk about over their journey and their start of overeating, starting as a child, following abuse, following being essayed. I've heard that be the story on a lot of people just on the shows, the My 600 Pound Life, when they'll talk about when they started to eat because it became a comfort thing. This is how they controlled their emotions. This is what made them feel good. When they weren't feel loved, appreciated, accepted by those who they felt they loved and cared for, they turned to food as comfort. Most of the time, most women who overeat or who are overweight, when the going gets tough, they eat. I have never met an overweight woman or man that did not say that when they going through it, they did not turn to food. What I have found in my lifetime is that people, when they handle stress, is two ways when it comes to food, how they handle stress. They either will eat or they won't eat. And what I find is that the person who is overweight says that when they're stressed, they eat. And the person who's small and of a healthy body type says when they're stressed, they don't eat. You're one or the other. You're not really intentionally choosing. You just kind of take notice of which one you are. And that's what, and I'm a person where I don't eat, but I'm a healthy weight. I've always maintained a healthy weight. People in my family who's mostly maintain a healthy weight, they don't eat. But people in my life who I've come across who have been overweight, they say I eat. So those people don't understand how somebody like me don't have the appetite to eat, just like people like me may try to. I struggle with trying to understand how when you stressed, you can think about food. The way my stomach turning, I can't think about eating nothing if I'm going through it. But it's the opposite for someone who's bigger, who that's all they want to do. So you see how we're coming from two different worlds and the way our minds work to where I can't understand how you can even think about eating. And that woman can't understand why I just won't eat to try to feel good, because that's all they want to do in that moment is eat. That's why you have to try to understand the ideology, the mindset of people. And that's what I've come to learn over the years when I talk to different people about food and just learning about their journey. And that's when I learned that. I learned this probably when I first started, probably before I started working on my last degree. I have a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling. So prior to that, in my relationships with my friends and things and coworkers, they would always talk to me, and I just learned these intricate details about their lives because everyone just wants to talk to me and just tell me their life, which is how I went on the journey of wanting to become a therapist. That was what I want to do, have a therapy, open up my practice and do family counseling. But I've learned so many people's stories. So that's another thing. I challenge you all to sit and listen to someone's story, because I assure you, you'll learn something. And a lot of my teachings and what I talk about, it comes from the stories that I've learned, that I've heard over the years, coupled with my educational background and work experience in clinical mental health counseling. So talk to people, get to know their story, ask questions. Because what I learned is that people are open to sharing their story if you show interest. They'll tell you. People have no problem telling their story. It's just that a lot of people go through life feeling like people don't care. So guess what? They're not talking about it. But if they come across someone who does care and who's open to listening, baby, you gonna learn some things. You're gonna hear all kinds of stuff like I did. That is what prompted me, you all, to go back to school, because people was treat me like they therapists, because naturally I'm drawn to people. I always say my favorite subject is people. I have questions. I want to know your story. I want you to know my story. I want you to know that even though you see me being small or being fit, let me talk to you about the history of that, what's that's driven from. Let me talk to you about that. Because sometimes people will say someone skinny and assume their life is perfect and it's this, that, and the other, but they don't know even what that person went through. That contributes to why they look the way they look. You got a lot of really skinny, small people who can't even put weight on. Because remember, y'all, I talked about, you got some people who, when they're stressed, they can't even eat. So don't ever assume that because somebody's smaller that, okay, they like that because they choosing necessarily to just be super thin like that. Some of them are even going through things to where they can't even put the weight on. Just like how when you're going through things, you just put weight on. They're in the reverse. It's in the opposite. So ask people, what's going on? Talk to me. Don't assume. Don't assume, because you never know what type of good relationships can come out of that. I challenge you all to share your story and be open to listening to the next person's story. It'll change your life. It'll change your life. Sue says, oh, I'm aware of where and why they say what they do. Doc says, I'm hopping off. Thank you, Sheik. Have a good night. Good night, Doc. Good night. Good night. So let's get back to this testimony from the fiance. We got just a few more minutes, but let's see what she has to say. Thank you for being here with me tonight. Join the conversation. Let me know your thoughts centered around this whole situation with this trial with Jarvis Butts, age 41, been on trial for the murder of 13-year-old Naziah Harris, who is said to have been pregnant at the time of her disappearance. And the authorities believe from their investigation that she is no longer alive. So this is her fiance. This is his fiance, the man on trial, Jarvis Butts. This is his fiance testifying in court this week. Very use. Please like the video. Please like the video. Thank you.
Did you ever see anything inappropriate or that would cause you to see a red flag with regard to him and your children?
No.
Did you ever see him acting inappropriately with any other children?
No.
Certainly, if you had, you would not have allowed him in your house. Fair to say?
Absolutely not.
You knew that Mr. Butts had other children, right?
Yes.
With a woman named Angel
Yes.
and a woman named Shannon.
Yes.
He talked about his children with you.
Yes.
Did he ever talk to you about his niece?
No.
About how often would Mr. Butts stay with you on any given week?
Maybe like twice.
Were they like the same days or was it random?
Random.
Okay. About what time would he come over?
After his work hours. After like 6 o'clock.
Okay, so you think he would come kind of straight from work?
No, he would probably do something else and then be there later on in the night.
Okay, so closer to like 9, 10?
Yes.
Okay. Would he stay the night with you?
To about 2 o'clock in the morning, 3.
Wow, that's a booty call.
Do you know how he would get to your home?
That's a booty call.
A couple of times he was in a white truck, a white Cadillac truck. Sometime I think he would walk. If he was coming straight from the shop, he would walk. Or if he had my truck, that's how we would get back and forth.
And that's the Suburban?
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Butts to ever have his own vehicle?
Yes. He had a white,
So remember, she said like he was using her vehicle. Remember, I talked about a man preying on a woman who has more than what he has. This woman had her own residence. She had her own vehicle. She had stability. She had things that he didn't. She's saying he would either walk from work to her house, or if he would drive, if he had access, if he had her vehicle. She said he was coming through at about 9 and leaving about 2. Child, in booty call hours. He wasn't even staying until the sun came up. But y'all in a whole relationship and you his fiance, but he was only staying an average. He was only coming through an average of what, 2 days a week? 2 days a week. So this wasn't no relationship in her mind. Y'all, she was on her way down the altar. And to him, it was just sliding through at night, telling her what she wanted to hear, what she needed to hear at that moment so he can get what he wanted. The finesse, I tell you, ladies, pay attention. Pay attention.
Chrysler truck, van like.
Okay. And when did you know him to drive that?
Like maybe the first 2 years when we were together.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Butts would come visit you, would he park in your driveway?
Yes.
Would he spend weekends with you also?
Yes.
1 second. I don't have anything else. Thank you.
Ms. Davis, I just have a couple more questions for you. Ms. Quick asked you about Mr. Butts being secretive with his phone. Can you tell me about a time that you had a conversation with him about him being secretive or something like that?
he would never really say anything. He talked in circles. So if you try to ask him a question, it's just always, you can never get a straight answer out of him.
But fair enough, you had multiple conversations about his phone and your access to it, I guess, or lack thereof.
Yes.
And Ms. Quick also asked you about Mr. Butts staying over the night, or staying the night at your house. You said that he would leave around 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Do you know where he would go when he would leave?
No.
Did he ever tell you where he was going?
Home.
Did you know where he himself called home?
Yes.
Where was that at?
Wilshire.
And you said he would walk from his place of employment if he was coming straight from there, right?
Yes.
How far from that on Connors, the auto shop on Connors, do you live? How far of a walk?
No, that was when he was on Warren.
Warren and Neff?
Yes.
How far of a walk from that location?
Like 4 blocks.
And did you ever see him drive but not park in your driveway or out front of your house? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
He parked around the corner and he would walk to my house.
And do you know
he was in a white Cadillac truck.
You said Cadillac?
Yes.
Oh. Was that an Escalade? If you know.
I don't know.
Okay. And do you know the reason why he would park around the corner?
I don't know. I asked and he would just be like, I didn't drive.
But then would you see his truck?
I would see the truck.
He was a liar.
Yes.
One last question. You said he lived or called home on Wilshire?
Yes.
Have you ever been to that house?
Yes.
Have you ever been inside that house?
No.
Nothing further with that. Thank you.
So she had never even been to the man's house when she was standing. But y'all engaged.
You were done testifying. Watch your step. I'm not going to inspire.
So very sad story, but for this woman, the signs were there that, I'm not going to say the signs were there for her that, he was a predator, but the signs was there that he wasn't on the up and up. He was a liar. Like, what's the point in saying you didn't drive? Like, what the hell? Like, sir, it's like the little things that he lie about. So I tend to say too, when someone's lying about little things, it's some big things that they're going to be lying about too. So what she was seeing that he was doing was lying about little things, and she wasn't taking into an account that, well, damn, if he lying about stupid stuff about whether or not he walked or drove here, what else is he lying about? Like a liar, habitual liar, like they'll just lie about stuff. So I'm sure right now, in hindsight, when she think about how this man was moving, she ain't really surprised. It's just that she chose to not deal with it, deal with exploring the lies that he was telling, because she didn't want to be lonely. This woman was lonely. It was good enough for him to just come through a couple of nights a week and to stay for a good 4 hours, long enough for him to get himself and get on. And then she didn't even know where he was leaving to go to when he was leaving her house. He didn't even tell her. Like, she had no clue when he was getting up after he did his due where he was even going. Then apparently at the time, the residence he was living at, they asked, had you been there? She said no. So you in a whole relationship with a man who they're saying, that was your fiance, and you didn't even know where he lived. And he would come through and not even let the sun come up when he come through. He only came through at night where he couldn't be seen. Because at 9 o'clock, it's dark, and at 2 a.m. it's dark. So he wasn't even letting the sunlight catch him over around them parts. So again, another thing I'll add to ladies, if you're with a man and he's not trying to be seen with you or have anyone to even know of your existence, where he keep coming through in the night. He ain't trying to take you nowhere in the day. He not trying to let you come to his place where he lives. He not trying to introduce you to family, close friends, co-workers. Like, Houston, we got a problem. You are a sneaky link. You are the secret. You are the side piece. All of that. Everything opposite of being the one, the main one, because that is not how the main one gets treated. That is not how the main one gets treated. And this woman was okay with being a sneaky link because it's giving that this is the position she was used to being in with men, where them not finding the value in her to treat her better, to come through when the sun's up, to leave when the sun up. Like that's just not their treatment, clearly, as she was used to. Because if she was used to that, this man wouldn't have been able to come through and start giving her this treatment that he was giving her. You see what I'm saying? Because when you used to good, you don't go back to that. It's like, think about it, ladies. If somebody was treating you like a queen, ain't no way. And let's just say they passed away, they not here anymore, and you're on the dating scene, and you come across somebody like this who's treating you like this, oh, hell no, you're not going to even entertain it, because you know what it's like to have better. People don't typically go from better to worse. They upgrade. It's from somebody like him to being somebody better. They don't go from somebody who is treating them like a queen to somebody treating them like scum, dirt on the bottom of their shoe. So this is given that she's used to this type of treatment. And that's very sad, because guess what? Guess who's taking notice of how mama is treated? The kids. I don't even know how many kids she got, their ages, but she mentioned he played with the kids. Like it was more than one. So that means that there are impressionable people who are in her home, who she's caring for, who's taking notice of the things that are taking place in that home, who hears him coming at nighttime. He probably had a key. It's given he was letting himself in. It's given that he had a key. He was coming through at night and he was letting himself in. That's what it's given. And then when he was leaving at 2 a.m, he was letting himself out. We have to be careful. What they say, you got to teach people how to treat you. A lot of things that we as women that we experience and we go through, we have more control than what we think we have. This woman had more control of her situation than she thought she had. I can only hope now, in hindsight, she sees where she went wrong, and going forward, she not allowed for herself to be put in a situation like this again, where she's sleeping with a man who has a bunch of secrets, and him not revealing them is okay. That's a problem, and it's dangerous. It is dangerous. And as a mother, now that you're hearing that this man is on trial for the murder of a 13-year-old girl who was supposed to be pregnant by him, how do you not think about the risk you put your children in? The fact that you had this man around you for 4 years. So this man was around in her life before he met the young girl. So with that being said, the young girl, Naziah, it said that how she came to learn of this man, Jarvis, was that Jarvis had children with her aunt. So were these kids made on the fiance? When were these kids born? Because this woman says she's been seeing him for 4 years. Naziah, they said Naziah met him in 2022 from what the investigators said. This woman's relationship goes back with him, seemed like to 2020. So she was in the picture first. So this man was doing the absolute most. And from what we learned from the testimony of his sister before this fiance's testimony, he has 13 children. And his sister on the stand says she only communicates with like 8 of them. He had a lot going on. And if you're dealing with somebody that's super secretive, I wonder, did she even know about all his children? You're dealing with somebody who's super secretive, got a lot of children by a lot of different women. Get the hell on. Listen. It's just know that ain't what, that you don't want no parts of that. Just know you do not want no parts of that. Cause I ain't never heard of no relationship that somebody has that's on the good foot with somebody who got a bunch of kids by a bunch of women. The relationship don't last because guess what? The situations that man is dealing with his baby mom of all the other kids, it impacts that current relationship. That's just not what you want. That's just not what you want. Again, a lot of this with the women is rooted back in self-esteem and choosing to ignore signs because you don't want to be lonely and you don't want to make this man upset, have him to say, okay, well, fine, I'm going to leave. You just don't want to rock the boat. So you trying to act like everything is gravy when you know it's not. You feel it in your gut that it's not. Ladies, always go with that. This woman said it wasn't feeling right. He was so secretive, but she kept on a relationship for 4 years. This relationship didn't come to an end, it looked like, until hell his ass got arrested. I'm still not even completely clear of whether or not they still engaged or not. She's saying was on the stand as far as with the fiance title, but why did it take for him to get arrested for you to move on with your life when the signs were already there that he wasn't the one, that he wasn't on the up and up? So that's what I got on this story. I'm sure I'm going to continue to follow it because the trial just started this week. There's probably going to be more testimonies. There's probably other testimonies too out there that I didn't react to tonight. But I want to continue to follow it because this is some nonsense. This is crazy. And I think that the young girl, Naziah Harris, was failed by just all the adults in her life. And it is what it is. And I think that the predator, Jarvis Butts, he was enabled by his family and those close to him. Even the women that he was laying up with, I think a lot of people just chose to turn the other way, turn the blind eye, turn the other cheek, whatever you want to call it. They just chose to do it for their own comfort. And unfortunately, it happens, especially within our community. It's a cultural norm for people to just act like things never happened. And then these children who were abused, guess what? They grow up and become abusers like R. Kelly. And as an adult, we ain't trying to hear that. Okay, yeah, you did it because it happened to you. I'm sorry it happened to you, but it's no excuse for you to go on and put that type of trauma onto someone else, onto another child. You know how you felt when it happened to you. So why would you do that to someone else? That's kind of how I moved through life. If I know when something was happening to me at any point in my life, whether I was a kid, whatever, however I was being raised at the time, and it didn't make me feel good, guess what? I didn't implement it into my parenting. Simple as that. You don't have to implement everything you experience as a child into your adult life. You can pick and choose like what you want to rock with and what you don't. If it didn't make you feel good, you like, I don't want to do that because it didn't make me feel good. So why am I going to put my child or somebody else's child through this? It's really like that simple. But for these people who are sick in the mind, it's like, it just, their brain don't even comprehend just something as simple as that. Because you have a lot of people who were abused as children who didn't grow up to become abusers. But then you got a lot who were abused and they did grow up to become abusers, and they may not grew up to become abusers to essay someone, but they may became a physical abuser or a verbal abuser. But they may give off abuse in a different type of way than maybe they received, or they may have received all that type of abuse as well. So again, we all have choices. We all have choices. This man had a choice. He could have gotten help, but he chose to do what he did. And here we are. Now he's on trial. I'm not quite sure what type of sentence he's facing. I guess, that'll come out as I continue to follow this story. But I'm sure that for loved ones of his, this is tough for them. The family, the sister looked like it was just really hard for her. And it's unfortunate because a lot of times when our loved ones go through things, guess what? We go through things as well because we're attached to them. They're our loved ones. It's a natural feeling, but at the same time, we can't ignore the horrible things that those who we love are doing. We have to kind of separate ourselves from them. And if we are aware that they are doing some things that's harmful to other people, we have to report it. Period. You just have to report it. So that's what I got on this live in regards to this Naziah Harris and the start of the trial. More to come. Stay tuned. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you know when I go live. But in the coming week, I'm going to continue to try to kind of watch this story and to see if there's anything else I kind of want to come out here and to talk about, because this story is new to me. So tonight I learned about it, did a kind of deep dive, and went live. So a lot of information I'm learning, or I learned during this 3-hour and 17-minute live. But it was a good live, just very sad situation. But much to learn from. And that's what it's all about. I call us the honor students over here because we elevate, we learn, we ask questions, because that's what smart people do. So I want you all to take care of yourselves and one another. I always like to say when I end my life, go out into this world, show up in a way in which you want others to show up for you, meaning like attracts like. Give off good energy, you'll receive good energy. You give off negative energy, guess what? That's what you get in turn. So if it's that simple, why not give off good energy? Take care of yourselves and one another. Heavy on the take care of yourself. Because when we don't take care of ourselves, we wind up in situations like this where people are coming into our lives and they are taking full advantage of us and our children. Take care of yourself. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you up next broadcast. Peace. Have a good night.